you know. Saturday, calling colleagues in this nature. Let me greet all of that the schools have just closed, so quite a number of the Portfolio Committee for Education in Gauteng in the provincial legislature. I'm not here on my own. I am here with Member Ngubeni. I'm just going to request that he introduces himself.
I'm a member of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Ngubeni. As is law in the legislature that we must declare this precinct as a vicinity of the legislature and that all the rules of the legislature shall apply, we hereby declare the Balaileika Hotel in Senton as a precinct of the legislature and that all its surrounding areas are a precinct of the legislature and therefore the rules of the legislature are then going to apply. Ladies and gentlemen, we believed that it was quite important to have this type of a session today, importantly for members of the Portfolio Committee, whom most of them are not here. We thought that it's important for them to have interactions with our districts because more often than not, we do not know the faces that are in the legislature and the Portfolio Committee for Education. And at times, members of the Portfolio Committee will go to schools and they will just appear and no one is going to know whom they are, and as such, we thought that this is quite an important engagement that we must have with yourselves so that we are able to interact in this platform, and when we are in the districts, you then know the faces that are in the legislature and the Portfolio Committee for Education. Let me request the HOD, acting HOD, Mr. Albert, to then introduce the team from the department before we proceed.
Chairperson, I think the room is full of Gauteng, so I'm not going to do a lot of this. I'm just going to introduce the people who will make the presentations, the chief directors. Chair, maybe an apology. A number of people usually take leave during the school holiday period, so there would be people acting in that place. So Mr. Dennis Makwakwa is on the other corner of the table. He is the appointed Chief Director for the Johannesburg region, but he will then deal with two presentations, the broader one, as well as his region-specific one. There is Andres Kimani. Kadimang, yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's the director for Tshwane South, and he will be the acting chief director. So he will present for the Tshwane region. Then there's Sumakazi to the presentation for Ikuruleni. And then there's Victor, who's the Chief Director for Sedibeng West, and he'll deal with that. Also here is the infrastructure, the acting DDG for education support,
Let me take you through the agenda for the day. We have already done the opening and welcome. The purpose of the session before the presentations. We'll then move on to discussions. We'll have a vote of thanks and a way forward as well as closure. We are not intending to keep you here for too long. I know that it is indeed school holidays and there's a number of family commitments that people would have, and we really do appreciate that you were able to make it to our event today. Let me then request Member Ngobeni for you to confirm the agenda for us.
No, Chair, I move to adopt the agenda. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. Colleagues, as I would have indicated when we initially started, that we wanted to have this session very importantly as mainly a relationship building meeting with our districts in Gauteng. And secondly, to provide a platform for us to be able to engage as the portfolio committee with our district and support offices in school support that is provided by yourselves. We also want to facilitate a common understanding of the roles as well as responsibilities of the head office, and district offices supporting our schools. We want to assess how effectively support to schools is coordinated as well as implemented across the head office, district offices and our schools. We want to engage on key areas affecting school functionality, which includes school safety, infrastructure, personnel support, as well as learner performance. The identification of challenges experienced by yourselves in your districts, as well as in supporting schools. We want to consider interventions that are aimed at improving school performance and strengthening support to our schools. We want to support the committee's oversight function through direct engagement with yourselves as the district as well as head office. This session, ladies and gentlemen, also seeks to strengthen the existing working relationship between ourselves as the portfolio committee and the department, whilst we recognize the shared responsibility to ensure quality education for our learners in Gauteng. We know that there are times that are very tough for the department, which would be the admissions times, and it would also, recently we've seen issues of people claiming that there's a lot of admission of foreign learners, which we have seen during our school visits, that it's quite something that has been exaggerated by the media. But also recently, as a portfolio committee, we did our focus intervention study on the support to special schools, and we have seen the level of work that goes into supporting the different types of learners that we have. We've done an FIS on schools of specialization, and we've seen quite a lot of work that has gone in there. And we must also commend yourselves and the work that you do in the district in ensuring that the results that we get for our learners is quite remarkable. We have seen a huge improvement in township schools and the levels that they have passed. The number of bachelor passes that you have been getting as districts has been quite amazing. And I think for that, ladies and gentlemen, you deserve a round of applause. Let's give that a round of applause. HOD, I'm now going to hand over to yourself so that you can take us through the presentations with the team that is going to give us the presentations. We have requested that because there's quite a number of districts that are in place, then let us rather do a cluster presentations instead, because if we were going through each district, we were going to take the whole day. Over to you, HOD. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. With your permission, I've asked, the presentations are very lengthy. We've provided the detail, but we would then just request that the presentation be at a high level, and at least the detail is on record. So I've guided the Chief Directors and the Acting DDG to do it as briefly as possible without losing the essence. And the first presentation will be done by the Acting DDG. I will ask him to then, with your permission, I will be taking all the presentations at the same time. Then I will ask him to continue into his region, and then we will go Sedibeng, Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni in that order. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and honorable members. Good morning, HOD. Good morning, DDGs present and chief directors. Good morning, district directors and officials from head office. I'm just going to go through the presentation that is going to be presented to the Education Portfolio Committee today on the 28th March 2026. I'm just going to talk to the shape and size of the department. Chair, in this slide, we are just presenting to you the number of schools that we have in the province and the total number of learners that we have in the province. And if you look at the presentation, you'll see that when you look at the actual total number of learners enrolled per region, you'd see in the Ekurhuleni region, Ekurhuleni South will be the highest in terms of learner numbers. In the Joburg region, Joburg Central will be your highest. If you look at Sedi West, Gauteng North will be the highest. And if you look at Tshwane South will be the highest. And this is as of 2026. On the next slide, we're just showing you, this thing is not moving. Yeah, just showing you the actual numbers, but with some explanation. It will give you a sense of how many primary schools we have, of the total number of schools we have in the province. In terms of primary schools, those are the numbers. And you'll see that the bulk of our schools are in primary schools, and also giving you the status in terms of fee-paying schools. And you can see that we still have quite a few schools that are still regarded as fee-paying schools. And the challenge is there still remain that while they are fee-paying schools, not all the schools are collecting fees, and it sometimes create a challenge. Chair, these are the enrollment trends and pressures in the system. Based on the total number of schools, you will see that between 2025 and 2026, the total number of schools increased slightly by 2, reaching 2,111 institutions. And you can see that the enrollment increased by 23,354, and that translates to an addition of 19 schools, which you currently don't have. And if you add to those schools will be sitting in an average of 1,200 learners. We will realize that in the past year, there were schools that were not reaching their capacity, and those schools actually decreased, meaning that more schools now are beginning to enroll more learners. But the oversubscribed schools have increased, meaning that more schools are oversubscribed, and there's a challenge. This creates a challenge in the system because we cannot be able to absorb all the learners without the necessary schools that we require. Chair, here I'm just giving you a sense in terms of number of educators and support staff per district. It is purely numbers there. You can see that these are the personnel that we have and the therapies and in the different categories of educators that we have in our system. Chair, here just to indicate that if you look at the population increase, you'll see that by the year 2050 to 2030, in South Africa, you'll realize that Gauteng is one province that is overly populated, and the focus and the areas that are beginning to be highly hit are Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni, and that is where we'll need more schools because we've got quite a number of learners in those particular areas. Chair, this is the policy and legislative framework guiding district structuring and functionality. You would know that each district are part of the provincial sphere of government. They have no original powers or functions prescribed by law, but operate in terms of the national and provincial legislation. They are not empowered to raise their own revenues. We would note that the MEC for education in each province is the executive authority responsible for an organization of schools. And as a result, in Gauteng, obviously, the MEC will have reorganized schools, and they made it a point that there's actually distribution of resources that will improve your staffing and all other resources that may be required for the province. Here we're just saying to the meeting that in terms of policy and roles of responsibilities of district, an education circuit must be responsible for no less than 15 and no more than 30 schools. An education district must comprise no less than 5 and no more than 10 education circuits. And it follows that no district should have fewer than 75 schools or more than 300 schools, and that is not what we're experiencing in Gauteng. We don't have districts with more than 300 schools. However, to cut against the maximum limit becoming a de facto norm, two other norms apply. That is, in any district, the average number of schools per second must not exceed 25. In any province, the average number of schools per district must not exceed 250. This is per the policy and legislation in terms of how districts are organized. You'll note that we have indicated that there are some inconsistencies because these provinces are not the same. And to address that, we need to make sure that we eliminate the misalignment and anomalies in respect of inconsistencies in the district, and this remains a challenge. We need to address the inconsistent allocation of resources to ensure optimal distribution across all districts and head office. Regulating the introduction of unfunded mandates that are not linked to any legitimate legislation prescripts is a challenge, and this is what, as a province, we're also going through. Chair, here I'm just going to give you an overview in terms of the branch organization. Branch CMD's curriculum management and delivery. You'll see that that is headed by a TDG, and we will also have those 7 chief directors responsible, making sure that they deliver services in those areas. We have school management. We have got consolidation of curriculum implementation, which is morning curriculum. We have assessment and examinations, and we have got the 4 regions headed by the different district chief directors. So this is all now an overview in terms of the chief directorates, how the chief director regions are organized. You will see that there's 4 of them, each one responsible for each region. Ekurhuleni with 3, Joburg with 5, Sedi West with 3, and Tshwane with 4 districts. Now we come to quickly the role and responsibilities of the chief directors. In the main, the chief directors coordinate the district in the implementation of departmental policies and provide strategic leadership for planning, target setting, resource allocation, and budget allocation, and also responsible for stakeholder management and coordinate and monitor support of the implementation of the ECT, which is very critical. Chair, here I'll just give you an overview of how districts are organized in terms of their structure. You will have your district director there and the different sub-directorates. We will just give more explanation as we go down in the presentation, but just to indicate that these are the support structures that are there in the district to make sure that our schools receive the necessary support in the different areas. Quickly, the role of the district director there, district directors to coordinate and provide strategic leadership for planning, target setting, resource allocation, and budget. Now that will be at the district level, but we also might indicate that they're also responsible for stakeholder management, and the district, as indicated, is supported by 7 sub-directorates and management structures. This is part of the structures in the district. Circuit management, that is their responsibilities there to coordinate and support, develop schools to ensure functionality in line with the whole school improvement processes. You'll have your IDSOs, who are the main link between the district and the schools, and they are making sure that there's proper interface in relation to governance, monitoring, and coordination of the WSI processes. You'll also have your curriculum, learning and implementation. These are the colleagues who are ensuring that they support the implementation of curriculum and assessment strategies, and they also provide correct and timely learner and teacher support materials and ensure that our exams are run smoothly. We also have the education support in the main. These are the colleagues who will be responsible for your school nutrition program, who will be responsible for your school safety, and all these services that are there. And in the main, also looking at the issues of tours and extracurricular activities in our schools. Information systems, still part of the district structure. Those colleagues are responsible for ensuring that we monitor and report on the performance of schools. They also support and advise school principals and HGP regarding policy and its implementation. We also have labor, which is to ensure that there's promote labor peace in our institutions, and these colleagues would report directly to the district director. We'll have HR, which will ensure that schools are resourced with sufficient staffing components to their requirements and ensure that districts is with sufficient staffing to carry other activities. Finance, These are the colleagues of the sub-directorate in the district that manage the assets and liabilities of the district and schools, and inclusive of maintaining the assets of the district and schools. They support all the different category of schools in the district, and they also ensure that they monitor the payment of service providers as per the norm that is expected to say you need to be paying within 15 days. Chair, quickly, I'm not going to waste time here, just to indicate that there's this roles and responsibilities in terms of head office, and what head office does is police and oversight district offices. This is the linking hub. Then the school here is that in the school level, we expect that there should be proper governance and proper management of the school governance, which will be led by the SGPs, and the management will be the responsibility of the school, school SMT. Chair, here I'm just raising the fact that there's what we call school improvement, and it is developed from the different policies that we have, but key to it is that at school level, there must be an expression in terms of how we're implementing all what is expected as per NDP and then as of the sustainable development goals. And that is what we're trying to indicate in that particular slide. Chair, our operations in the main, in the province or in our schools, are informed by also the police on whole school development and whole school evaluation, which then its aim is to make sure that all our schools improve in terms of the quality of education that they render. And you'll see the different areas, the 9 focus areas, which all must be making sure that at least we address the 5 T's as indicated in the slide. But key is that at the end, all our learners must be supported and all our learners must receive a quality education through the support that will be given by the different areas in the 9 focus areas WSC structure. Chair, I'm not going to waste time on this, but just again is to explain what the SCC, the self-school evaluation is about. Schools are given an opportunity to rate themselves. From there, they must submit evidence. Then from there, we'll be able to develop what we call a school improvement plan, which will guide all their processes in a particular year. This is just the model to say this is what we're expecting of the schools, the improved standard. This is what the schools will be doing. They'll have a vision of the school. From there, they'll develop their SDP. From the SDP, they'll then be able to receive the necessary support. And from the recommendations that we have from the WSE processes, then we'll have your SSCs, which is your school self-evaluation, which will identify challenges that must be addressed by the support structures within the system. And this is how the model will look like. Chair, here I'm just indicating the role of the district. District offices provide support role in terms of the following areas: ensure that schools engage in the process of evaluation and planning, ensuring that schools have a coordinator to manage implementation of the process, that will be WSI processes, conduct oversight monitoring evaluation to ensure that the action plan is captured in the SIP, ensure that schools submit quarterly reports based on the implementation of the SIP. The SIP will be a school improvement plan. So when schools have developed their plans, we need to monitor that they are implementing the plan, and the schools must report in terms of how they are implementing the plan so that we can be able to identify gaps and give the necessary support. Again, I've spoken to this, which was the role of the district. Now I'm just going to go to this one, just to quickly indicate that district school support effectiveness in the 5 main areas. As I said there, the main is school resourcing. This is basic functionality to say this is how we're resourcing schools. Instructional support, how to make sure that we provide support for the delivery of education in the classroom. Performance management, how to make sure that we have accountability sessions where schools can account to us. Policy and adherence, how to make sure that policies that are there in the department are implemented at school level. Stakeholder engagement, how to make sure that all our stakeholders are aware of what is happening in our schools, give us feedback, and we are able to deal with whatever challenges that can be picked up in the implementation of the policies of the schools. Chair, just quickly, this one just gives you the relationship between the school and the district. As you said, that the school will be engaged in the 9 focus areas, When they have developed their SIP, obviously the business units within the district and head office will then be able to identify what are the gaps that have been there, what support do schools need. Some of the needs or the support, schools will have to deal with those challenges themselves and address them. If they fail, obviously they will get support from the different business units in the department. From the schools are going to be profiled, and after the evaluation, they are going to be reprofiled to check whether whatever recommendations that were made were implemented, and schools are able to move from one category to the next, because at the end, we want to make sure that all our schools become great schools. Chair, I wouldn't, this is more to say, this is how we deal with our interventions. We know that we've got GT, which will be your grade R to grade 9. And this is the strategy that we have put in place. We're expecting that all our schools pass at 90%, 55% in terms of distinctions. Also improve monitoring the reading processes, because we want to make sure that our learners can read 60 words for your for Sotho groups, English learners with 50 words per minute, and Nguni group 35 words per minute. And we're making sure that all these targets are met at that particular level. And if we go to FET, you'll see our hashtag there that we have for the province for this year, which is 94% pass rate in all our schools. That 70% will reflect to the number of progress learners that must pass. Say 70% of the progress learners must pass, 55 bachelor pass rate for all our schools, and 8% for forward institutions. And we have a very detailed strategy in terms of how we're going to support our FET group. Chair, this is how monitoring is done at the different level: provision of evidence-based at school level, provide ongoing support and follow-up monitoring. We make sure that all our indicators are aligned. School improvement or whole school value improvement is realized, and governance for schools that are at risk. We do a lot of triangulations so that we can make sure that all their findings can be supported. We also have a situation where even PMTs or product management teams, they monitor Section 58B schools in particular and schools of specializations, because that is where we're putting a lot of our energy to make sure that those schools also perform. School readiness, Chair, is just to indicate that we conduct school readiness on quarterly basis, and we do have certain focus areas, and as we said, most of the focus is only on underperforming schools, high-risk schools, and schools of specialization and tuning schools. That is where our energy is, in making sure that those schools receive the necessary support. I wouldn't go through that, right, just go through the teacher development. Chair, what we're indicating there, that all our teacher development programs are geared at addressing the following areas: ECT, GET, FET, ISS, assessment, e-learning, and leadership and management. So we've got programs that are geared to make sure that all these teachers in these categories and leaders in the categories receive the necessary development and training, and that is being provided. Here we're just giving you the successes in terms of the work we've done, how many learners, how many teachers we've developed, and I think you'll be able to go through that. And this year, Chair, we're indicating the priorities that we know for the 7th administration. As we know, early childhood development is key priority. So we've made it a point that all these 9 priorities receive some support, some form of support through our teacher development strategy. This just details to say this is what we're doing in terms of ensuring that each and every bucket there is supported. Here just the objectives of the framework, to ensure access to reliable time information. As we develop these teachers, we make sure that at least we can check whether they receive intervention on time, and how to make sure that we can identify and report on good practices and thereby improve and design delivery of the programs. So this work is continuously being done so that we are able to report, and we make sure that we support and strengthen the reporting and accountability for the programs. So all these programs are subjected to this framework in terms of how we support them. This is just the outline to say this is the work that we're doing. And this is the reporting model to say reporting is the integral part component of monitoring and evaluation. And this is the form of written reports and scheduled meetings. So of all these meetings, monthly, quarter, and annual by the relevant structures, so that from time to time we will report on our achievements and the challenges that we have, so that we can be able to receive and get the necessary support. I wouldn't go much there, it's just to indicate these are the challenges that we're experiencing, and this is how we are trying to address those challenges. You can see issues of budget, you can see issues of unqualified grade R practitioners, and these are the areas that we're actually dealing with in terms of making sure that we clear them. Chair, this brings me to the end of the overview in terms of the district, in terms of the province, and the size and shape and the landscape in the province. As directed by the HOD, I would want to maybe get the support from Tabo, because I would want to go to the Joburg region presentation, which would be the next presentation before I leave the floor. Chair, this is the Joburg region presentation. In terms of the regional organogram, sorry for the spelling there, you'll have your chief director, you have got the different district directors, there's 5 of them in the different districts in the Johannesburg region. Siate, Joburg Central, Macheke, Joburg East, Qindi, Joburg North, Ndlovu, Joburg South, and Ramohwase, Joburg West. Chair, this is just in terms of the pass rates at different exit points. You can see that the region is performing very well. Safe to say there was a drop in 2025, especially in the grade 3, and this is something that we are working on. Also look at grade 6, you can see that still there was just slight drop, and a slight drop again in terms of performance at grade 6 level. At grade 9 level, you can see that there was a bit of an improvement because of the work that we are doing in grade 8 and 9. In grade 12, you can see that again, there was an improvement in terms of, oh, this is not moving, okay. Yeah. So in terms of HR, do you want me to, go back, go for, HR, yes. Yeah. Chair, they were just indicating the number of posts that we have, also indicating the number of vacant posts at the different salary levels, and would note that somewhere where we've got vacant posts, some of them are vacant because of grievances that we're still dealing with, and some of the posts still need to be advertised, but this is the situation in terms of the posts that we have. I think that information is there, and there will be more details as we progress. Then the next one, just to indicate the number of posts that are established, that are approved as per post establishment, and again, they were also indicating these are the number of posts that are vacant, even at school level and at the different categories of posts within our institutions. And that will give you an idea in terms of vacancy rate. You can see that our vacancy rate is not that high, but there is work that needs to be done to make sure that we reduce that vacancy rate. The next one is the district-based vacancy rate. These are the vacancy rate at district level. You can see the different districts, with Joburg West with the highest vacancy rate, and there are processes to make sure that these vacancies are addressed, because posts have been advertised. It's just a question of making sure that the processes of selection are concluded, and the right recommendation and the right appointments are made, so that by the start of the second term, we have cleared this particular backlog. Chair, this is what I was spoken about in terms of the plan, how we're going to be making sure that those posts are filled by particular periods of time. School safety, Chair, I'm not going to waste time. Safe to say that we have experienced quite a number of safety challenges, school safety challenges. If you look at Joburg East, for example, just highlighting the areas where we're mostly affected, it will be in the main Alexandra and the Ivory Park areas. This is where we've got a number of challenges when it comes to safety and a lot of disruptions, But through our engagements with these different stakeholders, with the support of CPF and other and QLTC, we're able to try and address some of these things. But still, a lot of work still needs to be done in this particular area. Joburg South, you can also see that still the same issues around issues of protests, issues of schools, SGPs, business forums, and these are the areas that are affected and the schools that are affected. And again, there is work that is being done with the support of head office, and we are trying to make sure that we clear these misunderstandings so that we are able to have our schools being functional. Because these protests actually take time and rob our learners teaching time, because from time to time, schools must close because of the disruptions. Joburg East, as I've indicated, at least is still continuing. You will see that Joburg East is highly hit in terms of these protests. Joburg West also, again, issues of fighting, burglaries, you can see gangsterism, giving a host of schools there that are being affected. And in the main, it will be your Bramfisher area, and some of the areas will include Rolliport and Freeoff. I'm not going to go through all these things because this is enough information there, but just to unpack what I was raising earlier on. So this is still part of issues. When it comes to infrastructure, Chair, there's information, they were just indicating that there are schools that are currently under construction, and you can see those are the schools that are there. In Joburg Central, Ninesfield, in Joburg South, in Kulege Sizwe, those are the schools that are currently under construction, and we've also given you challenges that we're experiencing in terms of delivery of those schools. But there is work that is happening. We can safely say that there is positive progress in terms of delivery of these schools. You can see Ninesfield, what are the delays, and you can see what are the issues that are affecting us. PFI schools, so that information is there. You can move. I'm not going to talk to pictures. Also talking to issues of mobile classrooms that have been allocated per districts. You can see that the districts that still need to get more mobiles is Joburg East, but for all the other districts, whatever was promised for the current year was delivered, and those districts are not experiencing too much challenges. Ablution facilities, we can see that we're still having a problem. In fact, there's nothing remaining. We have made it a point that all the ablution facilities are deployed in terms of the follow of those districts. Grade R classes, we don't have any challenges there. All the classrooms that were expected were delivered, and everything is on track. Self-built, these are the schools that were given money to build their own schools. There's little progress in some of the schools, but in other schools there is progress. In terms of district offices, yes, this was just indicating to you that we have got district offices. This is where Joburg West is situated, and you can see the challenges that we have there. Joburg East District, one of the districts where we're still trying to get a office for them, and I know that the procurement processes at DIT are underway and will be guided by DIT as to when are we going to get offices for Joburg East. Joburg East, those are the challenges I've indicated, that they are operating from different buildings. Joburg East again, Joburg South, we don't have much of a challenge there. Safe to say that we always sometimes have a challenge with the landlord where some of the facilities are not functioning well, but there was intervention and they've seen that there's an improvement already. Joburg North, so far no challenges. They're operating from Bramfontein. We don't have challenges there. Joburg Central, operating from the old Soweto College. There we still have a challenge. Some blocks in terms of infrastructure have collapsed. As a result, some of the employees have been displaced. This is how we're dealing with alignment in terms of head office. And I've spoken to those issues to say districts take in mandates from head office, then they become the link between the schools and the head office. And we're just indicating that this is the role that districts are doing, and I'm not going to do that because we've already spoken about that. But just to emphasize that districts also have a responsibility of oversight and accountability, and they do hold principals of institutions accountable for the performance of the learners. Also public engagements, we engage with a number of stakeholders from time to time. In fact, in terms of our plans, there are quarterly meetings with stakeholders so that stakeholders are kept abreast in terms of developments within the region. So this is how we deal with the issues of alignment. When we receive information, this is how we respond, this is how systems we have in place to make sure that there's communication of other challenges. Key challenges experienced at district level, as I've indicated, mainly it's around demonstrations, closing of schools by SGP and instructed parties. But all those things, whenever they surface, we do engage and clarify the issues so that people where they had a different view on a particular matter, after engagements, they realized that, there was just a misinterpretation or miscommunication, and we get those issues resolved. But here we're just giving you details in terms of the different districts. Chair, I just want to indicate that in terms of our presentation, you'll see that there's a number of SGP conflicts, but in the main, it will be around issues of recruitment. And we're trying to put a system in place where SGPs are retrained in terms of their roles and responsibilities when it comes to issues of recruitment. So just details there in terms of how schools are disrupted. So our interventions are informed by the strategy that I indicated in terms of the GT, FET. So all of us are aligned in terms of the delivery of that particular strategy. And these are the pillars that you will find in our strategy. And all our districts are ensuring that we align our activities and our work in line with the strategies that have been presented. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let's have which district? Sedibeng.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. Acknowledge the presence of the HOD, Chief Directors that are here, Directors and all colleagues. I will be presenting on behalf of Sedi West Region. And this would be our presentation outline. Region and the districts, their profiles, learner performance, in-exit grades, district vacancies, school safety, alignment and coordination between head office, districts, and schools, key challenges, and lastly, interventions. The Sedi West region has 3 districts, Gauteng West, Sedibeng East, and Sedibeng West. And in terms of the circuits and areas, I'll start with Gauteng West district profile. There are 5 circuits there, and then the areas there. Gauteng, for example, Kokosi, Wetela, Carltonville will fall under circuit 1. In each circuit, we look at number of independent schools, secondary schools, primary, and LCs. And my focus would be on the total number. As you can see, that the individual circuits are reflected there. In terms of the independent schools, there are 33, secondary school 50, primary schools 104, and LC schools are 8. The next district would be Sedibeng West. There are 4 districts there. As an example, Circuit 4, Sebokeng, Everton, Palm Springs. In terms of the independent schools across circuits, we have independent schools 16, secondary schools 44, primary schools 87, and LCs. There are 5 schools. The last district will be Sedibeng East. Sharville, Vereeniging will form Circuit 1. Edgelberg, Ratanda, Circuit 2, and the last is Meaton, Sicelo, and Rustenburg. So in terms of the independent schools there are 41. In the district, secondary schools 22, primary schools 49, SS schools they are 9. Now, in terms of the class of 2026, as far as the region is concerned, we have the total number of learners, 21,258, which forms 100%, and the progress learners that must take through is 1,708. So 1,788, which forms 8.41%. Bachelors 4,438, 20.88%. Diplomas 8,517. Learner at risk 4,881, and distinctions 7 subjects. We are looking at 4,362. And our candidates, 7 out of 7, that we are pushing to make sure they all get distinctions, 184. Chair, allow me to move to the district performance in terms of the exit grades. What we have done here, it is a comparison between 2024 and 2025. As you can look at Gauteng West, grade 3, 93.2, there was a drop in 2025 of 90.4. Grade 6, 87.2, there was a drop in 2025 of, they moved to 85.7. And grade 9 from 39.44 to 37.1 in 2025. But in terms of the region, just to cut the long story short, is that when you look as the region, in grade 3, there was a drop from 95 to 91. In grade 3, and there was an increase from 88 to 90% in grade 6. And grade 9, there was an increase from 39 to 39.67%. As far as grade 12 performance is concerned, let's look at the region. It will give us a better picture. From 2021, we started 79.91. We moved up to 83% in 2022, 2023, 84, and 2023 was 84.4%. And in 2024, we moved up to 86.8, and in last year it was 88.2. So there has been an increase over the past 5 years, and we hope that come 2026 we'll hit our targets as suggested. This will be Gauteng West, a 5-year trend in numbers, which I won't dwell much on. Safe to say the target this year is 94.27. Sidibeng East District, 5-year trend in numbers. The pass rate, the target is 95%. And we need to pass 3,734 learners. As Sidibeng West, the target is 96, total 7,689. We need to pass 7,381. So these will be trends as far as the figures are concerned. The vacancy rate across a number of post levels, when you look on your left, you will see we're looking at the different type of post therapies, mega post, and so on and so forth. But as far as Sidibeng West is concerned, Sidibeng East, the vacancy rate at school level is 5%. Sidibeng West is 4%, and Gauteng West, the vacancy rate is 7%. And in the entire region, the vacancy rate is 5%. And we should be able to fill in this post and bring it to zero. As far as the district-based vacancy rate is concerned, you will see at Sidibeng East is 16%. When you look at the approved post in Sidibeng East 249, Sidibeng West 284, and Gauteng West 309. The vacancy rate in Sidibeng East is 16, Sidibeng West 16, and Gauteng West is 14%. In total, as the region, the vacancy rate is 15. This is largely because of financial constraints, so we are unable to fill all these posts. But there is a proposed recruitment plan, 2026-2027, but in terms of vacancy circular 2025, it was published in 2025, and between May and 31st of December 2026, we should be able to dispense of this particular vacancy circular. As far as the vacancy circular 2026 to 2027 is concerned, we have the timelines there. When publication 20 April, those are publications, and we hope come the end of the financial, in fact, we'll start to fill in the beginning of the financial year, so that come the end of the year, we should have completed these particular processes. School safety, I think I'll skip this one and move to infrastructure. I'll come to school safety at a later stage. DID projects in construction. The following schools: Resteval in Sidibeng East, Simunye Secondary School in Gauteng West, Savannah City in Sidibeng East, and Rotara Elson School in Gauteng West. Progress as far as construction is concerned will be Resteval 100%, and the school was officially handed over on the 14th of January. Simunye is at 71%. The envisaged date of completion would be the 30th of October this year. Savannah is at 40%. 11 December is an envisaged completion date. Rotara is at 62%, and 29 September 2027 is the anticipated completion. I'll just flag these pictures just to give a sense as to where we are quickly without wasting time. This will be Simunye, and Simunye, I think there are issues there, Chair, that I must highlight. The site handover was in April 2022. Construction, the planned date was 20 of October 2023, but we're anticipating that the school will be completed come the 30th of October this year. The progress, as we speak, is at 71%. Delays are due to contractor poor performance. No termination effected by the DID despite recommendations for such by appointed PSPs. This will be Rotara LC School. In construction, Rotara, just to flag quickly, progress, Savannah City. As far as mobiles, Chair, are concerned, mobile classroom, 107 schools were identified. But in terms of the region, Gauteng West, 44 was allocated, 44 delivered. Sidibeng East, there was no allocation. Sidibeng West, 20 was allocated, and 20 was delivered. So there's no remainder. Mobile ablution, Gauteng West, 3 allocated, 3 delivered. Sidibeng East, 12 delivered, and Sidibeng West, 2 delivered. self-built class, without getting into details, just to mention 2 schools in Gauteng West and 3 schools in Sidibeng East. We have the municipality, the district, and what have number of classes, 2, and the last school it was 3, and these schools have delivered as far as the build-in project is concerned. Let me then take a minute or so to look at the Sidibeng East District. Just to give a background information very quickly. In 2018, 903 GDE mandates the DID to acquire a building. In June 2019, the lease expires. 24/7/2020, tender advertised. On the 17th of the 9th month, 2021, tender was cancelled. 24/2/2022, re-mandate letter issued to DID. Tender advertised on the 15th of November 2023. 07/2025, letter confirming tender ordered. On the 28th of August 2025, rejection of building. A building does not meet the GD needs. So we'll explain quite shortly or briefly, so to speak. And let me move to the GD requested an office building that meets the requirements provided in a document, GDE office accommodation. But the unfortunate part of it was that the parking was a problem. The building was a combination of 2 shops in the center of the town, right on the street front with no security. Access from street, the security will be a challenge, especially when there might be riots, So this particular site was not suitable for the district, and hence we have decided not to take it, or rather to reject it. As far as exams are concerned, the security requirements were also seriously compromised, because as far as exams is concerned, you must make sure that there are no leakages, and therefore this would be a picture of how the district and Visage building looks like on the busy streets around taverns and all of that. Ventilation is a big problem, so there's a barrage of reasons, not to take this one. Way forward, building audit marked with numerous issues, considered not fit for purpose. Building rejected. Okay. Sidibeng East District, the building has been rejected. Gauteng West, this is the main office. There are 3 offices there. The main office is in corner, Bosman and Pretorius, in Krugersdorp. But there are 2 satellites. One is in Green Hills. The other one is in Randfontein. Now, when you look at the 2, you will realize that the Gauteng West consists of the main office in Krugersdorp, like I've indicated, and 2 satellite offices in Green Hills and Randfontein. These buildings were not built for purpose. The main building is developed on various land parcels. For example, Randfontein building is an asbestos building. There is a great report. There is a report done by the AIA recommends that the building be phased out. So the 2 buildings will not help us as far as Gauteng West is concerned. But what is required is that consolidation, proclamation, investing of the unvested properties, town planning issues to be fast-tracked in order to initiate the construction project. So the idea is to see how can we build the district office in Gauteng West in Krugersdorp, so that the other two are incorporated in the Sidibeng West, the last one, says Samuel Street. It is a former Sidibeng teacher college and is owned by the Valley University of Technology. The Sidibeng West District Office shares the property with Mittal. The other schools, two schools around the property that also belongs to University of Technology. There are serious challenges as far as the building is concerned. Water is a challenge. The structure is a challenge. The building has numerous issues, and that must be attended to. Leaks. And what is required is that the DID must finalize the acquisition of the property, refurbish the property to be finalized as quickly as possible. These will be pictures of mobile. As far as mobile programs is concerned, deliveries are hampered by several factors. I think this is very key. Disruption from local communities and business forums, demanding work opportunities, failing which result in shutting down of the sites and not allow contractors to continue. A lack of municipality interventions when it comes to providing connection points to services for water, electricity, and sewer. Appointed service providers who are not manufacturers or suppliers, relying on third-party suppliers to fill their orders. This leads to bottlenecks as appointed service providers generally partner with the cheapest supplier, thereby compromising seriously on quality. Mobile program for future, I think my colleague has spoken to the mobile. I'll not deal with that. School build project, I think I've spoken to this before. School safety, just to cite few examples in Gauteng West. Gangsterism leading to fatal stabbing at Badirile. Gangsterism at Tutolefa. Infrastructure, I think I flagged infrastructure problems. Personnel and support to schools, district staff is not in full recruitment. I think some of these issues I've spoken to. Sidibeng East to violence and criminal activities in schools. Bullying and psychosocial are some of the problems. Substance abuse, increasing complex safety trends. The alignment and coordination head office district, I think my colleague has spoken. We are doing the same work and therefore the same approach. Reporting is the same as he has reported. These will be key challenges, factors impacting on teaching and learning, Chairperson. Lebohile Magalisberg, Jan de Klerk, and these are some of the challenges: parental involvement, SMT, SGB functionality, poor achievement across grades, and no principal for more than a year in Jan from de Klerk. And on the far right, we have the more mitigation. Director and Secretary already visited the school to address these problems. Subject advisors consistently support the school capacity building of SGB and on roles and responsibility to cite but few. We also have those schools on the left in Sidibeng East with infrastructure, water cards, and electricity. And we are approaching the Lesedi municipality to assist. Horoya Tuto, Kudu, burglaries, vandalism are affecting those particular schools. And of course, on the far right, it is how we are intervening. General Smart, Tsulo, electricity problem, War School, Fanabil Park, the bereavement of 5 learners, funeral over 3 weeks has affected extra classes. But there's a catch-up plan. Ramusugula, non-availability of scholar bus due to strike, but the learners were taken to a nearby school so that their learning is not compromised. All these schools have electricity challenges in Sidibeng West. Khutlotaru, Lena, furniture, we have requested it from head office. War School, Vanderbilt Park is also electricity problem on Tsusi. Those are problems as reflected on that particular slide. And all have been reported to the Mfuleni municipality for assistance. Let me quickly look at interventions quite quickly. The triple threat action plan to deal with learner performance and make sure that all learners pass. Pillar A, Pillar B, Pillar C, high velocity intervention. We focus on progress learners and safety net, Pillar B, and we look at distinctions in Pillar C. And this is our focus areas. Support for all home languages up to point 8 subject support strategy and teacher development. These would be what we'll call the directives from the DDG. Those are 8 areas. And home language strategy, paper differentiation is of the essence. This slide speaks to non-negotiables, teacher time, textbook, testing, and the timetable. And line of march for all our schools, focus on progress learners, HRL, which high-risk learners, moderate learners, historically underperforming subject, highly enrolled subject, novice, and thank you. Thank you, Shane.
Thanks.
Tswani.
Chairperson of the Education Portfolio Committee and honorable members, HOD, DDGs, chief directors, all senior managers and colleagues. I am Gauteng AM, District Director Tshwane South, standing in for Chief Director Paula Galego, who is on leave. This is the presentation for the Tshwane region, outline the same as all other districts and regions. Let me quickly talk about the regional structure. Region led by the Chief Director. 4 districts, Gauteng North, the Director is Tatekosi, Tshwane North, Memkot, Tshwane West, Memoke, and Tshwane South, Nkadimeng. These are the areas that are serviced by the 4 districts, Gauteng North, Cullinan, Refilwe, up until Bronkhorstspruit, Tshwane South, Atteridgeville to Oliven and Mamelodi, Tshwane North, the Muat, Soshanguve, Hammanskraal, with the Tshwane West, servicing the Pretoria West, Pretoria North, part of Pretoria North, up until Lotus Gardens. Let me quickly, Chairperson, talk to the results in terms of the exit grades. I must indicate that in Tshwane region, foundation phase, grade 3 in particular, all the districts are above 90%. Coming to intermediate phase, grade 6 as the exit grade, the lowest is at 89.3, closer to 90%, and other districts above 90%. Senior phase, that's where the challenges are, but we are really implementing intervention strategies to turn the situation around. In terms of 2025 National Senior Certificate, as we can see, Chair, the lowest performing relatively so is at 86.9, with the highest at 92.03. Vacant posts, acting DDG talked about the vacant posts, but safe to indicate that there are processes in place to fill all the vacant posts in terms of all the issued vacancy circulars, with the latest being issued today. Infrastructure-related challenges, of course, due to admissions, pressure and challenges, infrastructure unit, directorate and chief directorate, they are working around the clock to make sure that we address the admissions challenges. This is per district, starting with the DBSA, Developmental Bank of South Africa projects in Hammanskraal, Ratanang as well. As you can see, EBR, evidence-based reporting, the school is nearing its completion. DID projects, as you can see, Chair, Simpato in Tshwane North, Tshwane West, Refihlile Pele in Tshwane West as well. Anticipated completion for Simpato is July 2026. I must also indicate that there are BFI projects in all the districts, Tshwane North, Doornpoort, Tshwane West, Soshanguve A Secondary School, Gauteng North, Mpumelelo, Olive and Hout Bosch in Tshwane South, as well as Soshanguve South Extension 7. These are the BFI projects. As you can see, that is the evidence with regard to those projects. In terms of mobiles, there is an allocation for mobiles for all the districts to address the admissions-related challenges. Self-built projects that are really assisting us to deal with admissions-related challenges are listed in that particular slide. In terms of district offices, Tshwane South District located on 265 Pretoria Street, that is the photo of the district office in the Pretoria CBD Center. Gauteng North, 89 Mayor Street. DID reported that the tender is cancelled, but the tender will be re-advertised. Tshwane North, a building was identified for Tshwane North. Unfortunately, DID indicated that that building is outside the boundaries of the district, and there is a move towards allocating that building to Tshwane West. That is occupying the old Hebron College, and the district is experiencing a number of challenges, including electricity. I move on to school safety. Let me indicate that Tshwane region is not immune to social ills and safety-related challenges, both learners and educators as well, ranging from violence, gangsterism, substance abuse, bullying, sexual harassment, to name a few. With regard to educators, they are also exposed and vulnerable. But we do have interventions to address those challenges. We have partnerships with the SAPs. We do have the patrollers. The crime wardens are also assisting us in that particular area. Unfortunately, our schools, more especially during recess, are experiencing a high number of burglaries and vandalism. There are also transport-related challenges, specifically private service providers. Chairperson, let me also move forward and talk about our support as the district offices, because our main focus is on monitoring and support. Like other districts in Gauteng, we are focusing on the 9 focus areas of whole school evaluation, because the main purpose is to ensure that there is effectiveness and efficiency with regard to the provisioning of quality education to all the learners. This is how we do it in districts, through circuits, curriculum, education support, and all the relevant units that are directly involved in curriculum delivery and curriculum management. Head office is also assisting us as well with regard to the provision of quality education in all our schools. Of course, we do have challenges, like I indicated earlier on, ranging from social ills, burglaries, up until admissions-related challenges. They are listed, Chairperson, in all the slides per district and per school. We are working around the clock to make sure that we address all these challenges. But with regard to curriculum delivery, as well as curriculum management in particular, we have a structured approach towards turning the situation around. Our target as a province is 94%. Our target as a region is 95%. Tshwane South 96%, Tshwane North 97%, Gauteng North 92%, and Tshwane West 94%. all of these intervention strategies, starting with the triple threat, the high velocity interventions, directives by the DDG that were explained by other directors and chief directors, including the home language strategy. As you know, if a child fails home language, that child, irrespective of whether has passed all other subjects, the child will basically fail. Our main focus, the core, is back to basics. The 5 T's, the teacher, testing, time, resources in the form of textbooks, as well as timetable. This is the line of march. Our threat is on the progress learners as well as the high-risk learners. We are doing almost everything within our powers to make sure that we assist those learners. In conclusion, as a region, we are saying, even though we have all the strategies, accountability is the only glue that ties the commitment to the results. We are all responsible and all accountable. We are changing, and change is the only way that will make sure that there is efficiency and effectiveness. Thank you so much.
Chief Director.
Chairperson, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, acting HOD, DDGs, chief directors, and all protocol observed. My name is Somikazi Chabalala. I'm the district director, Gauteng East. Today standing for my acting chief director, Musilo Thuli, for the Ekurhuleni region. Let me continue with my presentation. Ekurhuleni region has 3 districts. Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 districts is Ekurhuleni North, Ekurhuleni South, and Gauteng East. The areas in the region, Ekurhuleni North covers Davidton, in fact part of Davidton, Benoni, Boksburg, Bedford View, Kempton Park, Tembisa, and Edenvale. Ekurhuleni South covers Katlehong, Germiston, Boksburg, Vosloorus, Thokoza, and Alberton. Gauteng East covers Davidton, Etwatwa, Springs, Kwatema, Brakpan, Dalpark, Tsakane, Duduza, Nigel, and Devon. It's a district that covers 2 municipalities, Ekurhuleni and Lesedi municipality. Ekurhuleni is a highly populated region. You can see just grade 12 only at Ekurhuleni South. They are having over 17,000 grade 12s this year. Those are the numbers in the 2 districts, with Ekurhuleni North 13,599, Ekurhuleni South, Gauteng East 10,885. We also have identified our learners who have progressed from grade 11 and our high-risk learners, which is the focus of the province and all of us in our schools in terms of learners that have passed grade 11 with one subject that it didn't do well, so that we can track them. The performance of the region with data that has been authenticated by the province, all the districts in the region are performing at grade 3, above 90%, which is the foundation. We believe that if we solidify the foundation, all will go well. Grade 6, which is the exit grade in the intermediate phase, we can see that 2 districts are performing above 90%, with Ekurhuleni North that is at 89.5%. Senior phase, grade 9, the 3 districts are not doing well at all. You can see as much as there's some upward trajectory in the 2, Ekurhuleni North again dropped at grade 9 in terms of the overall performance. at grade 12, 2025, the two districts, Ekurhuleni North and Ekurhuleni South, performed at 87%, and Gauteng East performed at 83.7%, which is the lowest performance. Vacant posts, there are vacant posts across the districts, within the district, and also in schools that are supported by this district. The total number of vacant posts, Ekurhuleni North is 116, with Ekurhuleni South having the highest number of 271, and Gauteng East 139. Principals' posts that are vacant are 27 at Ekurhuleni North, 30 at Ekurhuleni South, and 30 at Gauteng East. Ladies and gentlemen, like I indicated, there are posts also at school level, at the different post levels, and also the GAs that are also vacant in all the schools. But vacant circulars were out, recruitment has started, some have been completed, files are in districts also en route to head office in terms of filling those particular posts. We believe that by the new financial year, all the posts will be filled. Projects in terms of the construction of new schools. We have schools that are being built in Ekurhuleni South. We have Windmill Park, Velalisa, Montic, and Tabutuna. Those schools are almost completed, with Windmill Park that is at 100% in terms of the progress. The challenges that are experienced is the dolomatic land in Windmill Park area, but those are the areas that are working on. That is just the evidence of the schools. In terms of GDID program, WK2PC, which is a special school in Gauteng East, has been officially opened. It used to be a mobile replacement school, but it also had Barcelona Primary School is a mobile replacement. It started last year, January. The contractor, it's not moving very well, the Barcelona Primary School. Reche Park asbestos replacement and Suzuzile is moving better than Barcelona, though it started later by 7 months as compared to the Barcelona project. The contractor was terminated by DID at Barcelona. The reappointment has been submitted. We are looking forward to the new contractor starting because there's a delay and the challenges at the very program. As I indicated, the delay at Suzuzile was caused by a problem of a tender, but since the contractor was introduced, there's quite a great movement in the building of the school. That is Suzuzile. Ekurhuleni North, we've got 4 schools that are being built: Birch Acres, Mayfield, Mayberry Park. Mayberry Park is Ekurhuleni South, and Eden Ridge High, which is Ekurhuleni South in the BFI projects. Also, they are moving quite well. We are looking forward to them being completed so that learners can be placed. That is just the evidence of the buildings. Coming to the mobile classes, those are the mobile classes that were allocated and they were delivered. The ablution facilities, Ekurhuleni North and Ekurhuleni South. It is important to note, Chair, that also we have self-built completed classrooms. We started in phase 1, now we are in phase 5, and schools are doing quite well in terms of the additional brick and mortar classrooms that are built through SGBs and schools. That is Ekurhuleni South District, that is in Meyersdal. Ekurhuleni North District, that is in Benoni, Howard Street, and Gauteng East District, that is in Springs, 7th Avenue. School safety issues, Chairperson, I must indicate that in the 3 districts in Ekurhuleni, gangsterism, it's worse in Gauteng East and also in Ekurhuleni North, Tembisa area. Bullying in schools is also increasing. We are seeing also learners that are having spiritual attacks in schools, but we are working very closely with different organizations in terms of dealing with those particular issues. We are also noticing the the challenges in terms of experience by schools. Our schools are overcrowded, Chairperson, as much as the province is really assisting in terms of provision of mobiles, but we also have historic backlogs and also historic growth in the different areas in Ekurhuleni, and leading into overcrowding in our schools, regardless the brick and mortar support that we are given in terms of quick building of classrooms and also supplied with mobile classrooms. We still have some overcrowding in schools that is being still experienced. As indicated, we have all the areas that are having water challenges. Tsakane, KwaThema, Davidton, eThwathwa. We are struggling in some areas in Phosphorus. We are losing school days in terms of the disruptions by PASO and COSAS and the issue of the buses, learner transport, that also affected our schools. As I indicated, that we have overcrowding in a number of schools. In terms of interventions, we are supporting our ECDs with the staff that we have. We have door-to-door campaigns. We are having also capacity building programs for our practitioners in the community-based sites, and also ensuring that they are capacitated and assisting them in terms of registering their ECD centers. We are working in different programs in intensifying and solidifying the foundation at foundation phase, and in different programs, mathematics, reading programs, and ensuring that they are well prepared in terms of the intermediate phase. Without going to all those different strategies that we are doing, Chairperson, but we are having programs that we are working with head office in some, in ensuring that all our learners in the different phases are well prepared. We are also tracking the coverage of the syllabus so that learners are not assessed on work that hasn't been done. The Triple Threat Action Plan is cutting across the districts in the province, and all the strategies that are provincially, we are also implementing and ensuring that our learners are well prepared for the examination from GET and FET. Without wasting time into getting into the detail of the strategy, but we are using quite a number of strategies and resources to make sure that our learners are well prepared. Our governing bodies are assisting us, Chairperson, in ensuring that our learners are supported, the grade 12s, with different programs and extended classrooms, so that they are well prepared. But through the provincial support, we do have also a secondary school program for grade 8 and 9s, where we are also supporting them in mathematics and languages to ensure that they are prepared for the FET and the requirements thereof. Those are the Saturday programs that are running in the region in supporting our learners. I have indicated the progress learners and the high-risk learners and all the other learners that we are supporting in terms of categorizing our cohort of grade 12 and have the differentiated and focused intervention. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Still have one more, ne? Or we're done? We're done, okay, thank you. Thank you so much, colleagues, for all of those presentations, which were very informative and very well put, and I think they will assist us in terms of the engagements that we are going to have. I don't know, HOD, if you have any comment that you want to make. Okay, let me just then, I'm told the MEC has joined us online. Welcome to yourself, MEC, if there's a word or two that you want to say. Okay, let's then move on to yourself, Member Ngubeni. Any comments?
No, thanks, Chair. and thanks for the presentations. I just want to maybe get clarity on few or just make some few remarks on some of the issues that have been raised from these presentations. One, just wanted to check HOD as to what is it that, or plans that are there to at least ease the pressures of overcrowding of classes in schools. And also wanted to make a reflection on vacancies that are there, and maybe just to check what are the challenges that delays the process of filling all these vacancies, because I'm saying this because just to use a blanket approach on all districts. So also wanted to comment on the safety. I think they are more common in terms of all the districts. I see issues of protests, gangsters, and attacks on staff members as per the presentations. But I think what is going to be important that maybe we need to look into, I think we need to work on our stakeholder relation management, because some of these issues, I think they emanate mainly because there's a gap between the relationship with the communities, teachers and all other stakeholders. I think if we can work on that, involving communities, to see how best we can improve the safety of our schools. I think maybe lastly we'll speak on maybe the infrastructure. I think we always see delays, Chair, but I think we need to also acknowledge the fact that it's a very high risk space where criminals also take place and want to impose themselves into these infrastructure projects that the department is working on. It's commendable that they are also trying by all means to also bring together the stakeholders and communities and all that. So we say let's keep on pushing, because these protests and these tax that impose themselves to our projects, they really delay our progress. Lastly, Chair, I'm not quite sure, especially I saw there's a challenge of spiritual issues and witchcraft. I want to really get clarity as to how did you determine that this is a witchcraft issue. Maybe if we get clarity on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Gubeni. We were just laughing during the presentation at the witchcraft and the spiritual attacks. Probably abantwana banamandlozi, maybe we understand a bit, but the witchcraft one, it was quite complex. So it will be interesting to hear what Ekurhuleni has to say about that particular matter. Thank you so much, colleagues, and thanks, Member Ngubeni, for raising those issues. I think we have almost similar issues that we would want to raise. Maybe where I want to start, HOD, is on the point that we come back from a chairperson's review, which we had over the last 2 days. And in comparison to all the departments in Gauteng, the Department of Education has the least number of vacancies, or the least percentage of vacancies. And you are standing at 7%, you have less than 10% vacancies compared to other departments that are way above 20 or 40% in terms of their vacancy rate. However, HOD, this does not remove our concern, because this 7% is 8,082 vacant posts across the province. And I think as much as it's a very short number, or you have less percentage, it's still a huge number of vacancies or posts that we must fill. And I think I'm glad that all the districts in their report, they are indicating that there are plans in place to fill these vacancies, because we have really a huge challenge. Number one, the overcrowding doesn't assist that in our schools. Then you have vacancies, then our teachers then become overburdened in terms of the work that they must do. The second part, in terms of the rearrangements of departments. We are told that the Mapanyaza have now been appointed as peace officers, and I know we've been making it a point that we say that we want them to be in our schools, particularly because we've seen the rise in terms of gangsterism, in terms of school safety, our learners stabbing each other in schools. So this move, we think that is a good one, which will assist to ease the pressure on yourselves as the department as well as on our schools. So I think the overcrowding, obviously, in our province is due to the overpopulation that we have. Now, we've been having quite a number of stakeholder engagements, I think, in this quarter that we are in as the portfolio committee, and I think we've done most oversight visits to schools more than other quarters that we have put in place. And we would want to, HOD, we will be going to certain schools, specific schools, particularly speaking to issues as much as we have reported on our FIS on support to special schools. But there are challenges in some of the schools that we are going to visit. Casa de Sol, being one of them, has quite a number of cases that have been reported to the portfolio committee. Haroke Secondary School, there's a ceiling that has been falling on learners. I'll send you, HOD, that information with the pictures so that at least there is an intervention. There are some challenges at the Wellington School of Skills. Tolimfundo, we went there as a portfolio committee. There were some challenges, but seemingly those are persisting. So if we can also have some interventions. Ngubela, whether it's now a primary or a high school, there's been some outcries in Davidton, where I come from. We will be following up on that. And then at Sedilaka, there's an issue that has been coming up to us on corruption, but there's quite a number of schools that we'll be sending, and we do apologize for overburdening you with work. It's just that when we have our stakeholder engagements, we don't want it to be talk shows. We want to also be able to provide solutions to the different stakeholders that are coming, and we want to work with yourselves to come up with solutions so that when we hold each other accountable, it's not a matter of playing a blame game, but coming up with solutions that are going to assist to make our schools better. I really want to, I'm very passionate about schools with learners with special needs, special education needs. Earlier in the year, in one of the schools that we visited, one could spot that there was a child who was on the spectrum. Like, you could see that this child is autistic, but they were in an ordinary public school. And we were told that the screening process is then going to follow. So I just want to check, HOD, because I would have wanted to see this in the report in terms of how it has gone with your screening process of learners, and probably the projections that under normal circumstances, these are the number of learners that we identify that they need to be in special schools, and perhaps how long the placement processes then would take. And the other issue that I want to raise, which is, of course, not something that we asked for you to put in the report, is just a concern that in most of the special schools that we visited, we found that the mobile classes, where there are mobile classes, are not necessarily specialized mobile classes, and sometimes the schools would have to find a way to get their own ramps or, do their own work to ensure that this is a mobile class that is suitable for learners with particular disabilities. And then maybe let me go into the issue of how disappointing it is that there's a lot of delays when it comes to infrastructure projects. DID projects, they are the ones that have the most delays, contractors pulling out, contractors being terminated in the middle of a contract. Whereas when you go to your DBSA projects, your BFIs, your self-built projects, those are running very smoothly. So I think HOD is something that we have been saying for quite some time, that perhaps this other route of your DBSAs and self-built is perhaps the way to go. Because, for example, I'll start in Ekurhuleni. When you speak about Barcelona Primary School, ekhaya kusemuva kwase Barcelona Primary, and my mother sees every day what's happening at that school. You are at 10% and a contractor has been terminated. The projection is that we are only going to complete the school in November next year. And it's such a huge concern, because you don't understand why is a contractor cancelled in the middle of the contract. And some of the things that were cited at some point was that there are some requirements that they did not meet. But how did you hire them if they could not meet those particular requirements and you want to fire them in the middle of a project? That is a problem for us, HOD, perhaps with jointly with Infrastructure Portfolio Committee, there are some interventions that we'll then have to ask for. And then Reiche Park Primary School, we went there as a portfolio committee. In the slides that we are given, the school is said to be at 15% in terms of the work done. But when we went there, there was no contractor on site. There is nothing that has been done, and we have pictures to actually prove this. So it's maybe a bit concerning that the report would indicate that there is 15% work that has been done when we do not see the 15%, because if you arrive at 15%, at least foundation must already be there. It can't be that there is no bulk infrastructure that has been done, but we are at 15%. It does not make sense. So if we can just get clarity on that. And I think in terms of in all the districts, we must appreciate the improvements in terms of your performance and the work that you are doing to ensure. I like that you have identified your high risks of learners and you are working on them to try and ensure that at least we do not leave them behind in the matriculants. And then we move to Tshwane as well. I think the improvement of results, we are very happy with that. I just have a bit of a concern which I raised with the district offices across all the districts that we have, where you guys have challenges of proper district offices and people having to work in conditions that may not really be conducive. And I hope, HOD, that we can find solutions to ensure that we have proper functioning district offices where people are going to be working in good environments. And I hope that DID as well comes in, because I've complained so many times to them to say that our district offices and the contracts that sometimes you take really affect the working conditions of our colleagues in the district. And at Rifitile Pili, I think one wants to understand a bit. I did not get quite what was happening and why is the contractor terminated. I don't know if the report went into detail with that. And then with Sidibeng as well, we note the improvement of your results over time. And I just, maybe it's a typo in the report, where in terms of the completion of your schools, you've got Savannah, which is at 40%, and it's set to finish in December 2026. But you have Rotara, which is at 62%, but it's going to be finished in September 2027. I don't know if it's a year typo or there is actually a challenge at Rotara, because the pictures that you show in the presentation actually show some progress. And then with the Sidibeng East District, where are they currently housed? I think there was a lot of information and a lot of challenges that you were raising with that particular district offices. When we get to Joburg, I think we must appreciate that you try to carry us as a province in terms of your performance. And we just... Okay, on school safety, I think I'm glad that you've noted where your high risk areas are, and you've also identified in all the districts, in fact, where the areas of concern should be, and at least we can be able to focus on that. There's a lot of SGB conflicts, I think, that you have raised in Joburg. I think there's a lot of SGP conflicts, and we would have said in the previous meeting, HOD, that we had with you last week, that we are concerned with the number of the rise of SGP conflicts and terminations of people as SGP members. But overall, really, I think the presentations address a number of issues that we want to speak to, and we are also here as a portfolio committee to assist the department where needs be. Let me hand over to you, MEC, if you are still there. Okay, in the absence of, let me hand over to you, HOD.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm going to allow, with your permission, the affected managers to speak for themselves so that we get to hear from them directly. The issue of overcrowding of classrooms is becoming a extremely big issue for us. The increase in the level of overcrowding is now starting to become quite exponential in a way. And if we are taking in close to 40 to 50,000 net learners coming in every year, so 150,000, 120,000 come in, 50,000 go somewhere else, we then left with a net amount of about 60,000. Chair, that would require typically at least 20 schools to be built a year. For almost 6 years until last year, we had zero delivery of schools. And so we've had a backlog. But the backlog is where the settlement patterns are. So most of the settlement patterns, there are two phenomena affecting schools. The first is the settlement patterns of migrants. And I don't like to use the word migrants. So let's just say South Africans who are moving across provinces, they tend to settle in informal settlements. And as a result of that, most of the informal settlements seem to be attached to townships. And so the closest schools to those informal settlements is township schools, and that's why you find that is where there's a pressure point. The second pattern is that there are changes in the demographics of suburban areas. There is a massive growth of the black middle class in suburban areas, and they are trying to access schools in that vicinity, but the demand pattern exceeds the available space in those particular areas. So we would have to find ways of dealing with it. So self-built was a way of dealing with it. But Chair, there is also unintended consequences of mobiles and self-built. And the unintended consequence is that we end up with schools that are too large to manage. There is, I think our largest school currently by number of learners is sitting at about 3,500 learners. You can't manage schools that size. Your disciplinary problems come in. There is classroom activities that are stunted in that particular process. So we are sitting with serious problems. We are trying to accelerate the BFI. The BFI, unfortunately, while it has reduced the problems of replacing contractors, we've not had to replace anyone. But our single biggest barrier, irrespective of whether it is DBSA, DID, or the GDE, is getting the municipal interface to work for us. You know, even in the BFI, we are still sitting with 4 schools that don't have site development plans approved by the municipality. So we are sitting with that. Moving forward, we are putting in a bid for a second BFI grant. And that we are doing as a province together with the Gauteng Infrastructure Financing Agency. In addition to that, we want to accelerate the self-built. There are also other technologies that we have agreed to investigate. Apparently, there's a proprietary methodology called Moladi. Moladi Building Systems. They are able to build an entire school in about 4 months. And this is a concrete structure. It is not mobile, not prefabricated, but they use a form of prefabrication to build this thing. Chair, I'm told that we may have built one about 16 years ago in Sedibeng. And that school was built as part of our alternate construction technology. the Western Cape is using that. They're delivering a new classroom every 4 weeks. That's how fast they are. So we're looking at that. The other opportunities that have come up is the following. There are approximately 7 to 10 church schools, church-owned schools, Anglican and Catholic schools, that have closed over time in our high-demand areas. They are making it available. We have to find the right treasury process to make them an offer to see whether we could buy those. The second broad issue is we want to also start looking at aligning it. In this week coming, we have a meeting with the Department of Human Settlements to see whether we can synchronize the building of new schools with the township development, especially during the bulk development phase as well as the building of residential. This is a meeting between the two MECs, and hopefully we can find a way of synchronizing those particular aspects. Chair, there is also an opportunity. We've completed about 2 years ago a study of all the schools that we closed historically. We have identified at least 15 to 16 properties that may have to be reclaimed. They may be used by NGOs, but we need to give them due notice. We need to refurbish them, and we can use them to reduce either busing or the demand pattern. So the overcrowding is something that we are working on, and we're hoping to deal with that. Chair, I'm going to maybe just ask on the vacancies. On the school vacancies, maybe just, and then I'll ask the acting DDG or the Chief Director HR to deal with offices. But school vacancies, I think we're the only province that have delegated the authority to the SGBN principal to fill a vacancy and notify us. There is no reason why a school shouldn't be filling a vacancy where we've approved the post. And so it would be required that districts double check or assist schools to fill up those particular vacancies. Those that are in offices, I think the Chief Director, HR or Acting DDG will deal with those. On the safety issues, I think the Acting DDG can deal with that on our plans to deal with schools in high-risk communities. But we agree, Member Nkobani, that the stakeholder engagement becomes key. If we don't deal with that and the issue of ownership, we are going to be having with problems. I'll ask the Acting Chief Director to deal with the infrastructure issues. Chair, I'm going to make a broad statement, and then the Director or Acting Chief Director, Ikuruleni, will deal with the witchcraft stuff. But, Chair, it is not a new phenomenon in our environment. It has happened on more than one occasion across the province. And this is separate from the Satanism issues. But there is a phenomena that psychologists attach to this. It's called mass hysteria. And it is something that is contagious and can become quite a problem over time. So when a single child experiences something, it is not difficult for their friends to have a sympathetic reaction. And then it becomes a much broader issue of witchcraft and Satanism and so on. But there is this concept about mass hysteria. And I think to some extent we've had this in the West Rand, we've had this in Tshwane, around Joburg. But it also tends itself to be in poorer communities. And in poorer communities, the myths in the community do contribute to that hysteria. So, but the director will deal with this specific instance. Chair, the vacancies, we'll deal with that, I think. Chair, we are now busy with the peace officers. We are submitting to the Premier. Up to now, they've helped us out. They've given us the support where we've asked. We are now giving them the list of schools where we think the risk exists, but we're also giving them the terms of reference of what we're expecting. So it's no longer just come and help us out. We're giving them, as we're procuring the services, we're giving them the terms of reference to say, when you help us, this is what we need you in your help. The follow-up issues, Chair, that you've raised, I think we'll address all of those issues that you've identified. The issue of SGBs and corruption and Chair, the issue of SGBs and there are maybe three phenomena that we're picking up. One is that there is definite conflict between a principal and the SGB. In cases where either the SGB or the principal are more dominant, they tend to exercise control over each other and then becomes a point of conflict. Very often that point of conflict is not about educational issues, it's about resources and the funds that are there. The second one is where SGB members within themselves are becoming quite assertive in trying to be a service provider to the school. And trying to become a service provider then means that the school has to deviate from its own procurement processes. The third element is the capture of the funds that are accumulated in schools. There are a number of schools where there is a substantial amount of money that's been accumulated. There are schools that save money over time to do capital expenditure. Expanding the school, adding on classrooms, building some other facility. And there's a very direct attempt by the SGB to get control of those funds. Now, in some of those instances, based on complaints from other members of the SGB or the principal or the district, we do investigate those matters, and sometimes we do have to serve them with a audi alteram partem letter that says, we've investigated the matter, we find that there is grounds for your dismissal as a member, please respond to it. And very often these SGB members can't contradict the evidence provided to them. They then turn it into a political issue, and then they mobilize stakeholders against the district and the department, saying they've been victimized. But the due process, which says, we've given you a chance to explain your side of the story. Either you fail to do that or you don't want to respond adequately. And in those instances, the department is left with no alternative but to consider the removal of the members. So that's the pressure. The key thing is those incidents are becoming more and more frequent. And unfortunately, you know, it's almost every week on my table, I'm now getting a bigger pile of these recommendations after investigation. The LSN one, I think the last time I remember, Chair, those that had been identified, I think the last report we presented to the committee was around just under 40 that were still waiting placement. It doesn't mean that there are other children sitting in schools who still haven't been diagnosed or who have not been referred for the assessment. Now, there is a second process that we start, but it is more based on behavioral standards. and that is every year we undertake a early identification process. And in total, we do about 100 to 150,000 learners in grade R, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. And that is where officials from the district and the school would check whether children can do the basic readiness test as a way of identification if they need. We do then end up with a list that have to be subjected to proper investigation and assessment for placement. Chair, on that one, we will give you the final or the current status in writing. Chair, the mobile classrooms for special needs, I always thought that that would have been part of the spec, but I think the Chief Director Infrastructure will deal with that. He will also deal with the delays. Chair, on that note, I will then ask the Chief Director Regions to comment on the comments you made on each of the regions on the issues that you've raised. With your permission, Chair, can I just maybe ask the HR acting DDG or Chief Director to deal with the issue of vacancies in offices? Chief Director Dora? Yes.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks, HOD. On the question around the delays in the filling of vacancies, I think HOD has covered the accountability for school-based vacancies. However, I would like to reinforce the fact that the school-based vacancies are actually within the acceptable norm or threshold of 10% because we are at 6%. And further that for all entry-level vacancies, we are filling those positions with temporary appointments on an ongoing basis. So we are above seawater level there. I think the challenge, slight challenges with the office-based vacancies. Here, I wish to indicate that GPG has actually acknowledged our performance and rated GDE as well-performing when it comes to the vacancy rate level within GPG, because we are standing at 7.7% there when we exclude educator vacancies. But when we include educator vacancies, that's where we have a slight challenge because we are functioning at 13%. And the reason for that is that the austerity measures were imposed by Gauteng Provincial Treasury on all departments at around the 31st of August 2025, and we had to halt our recruitment and selection process. So the selection processes that were underway to fill advertised vacancies had to come to a halt. And that, I guess, the reason for GPT to do that was the overall budget control effort within GPG. So having stopped processing with our filling of vacancies, we have mitigations in place. For every promotion position, we fill that with an acting person. So we have acting capacities in all promotion vacancies across the board, schools and offices alike. We are hopeful that with the directive ending on the 1st of March 2026, Treasury will allow us to fill vacancies with a new budget that they're going to allocate, and therefore we will roll to complete the selection process that was halted in this current financial year. Thank you.
Thank you. Acting Chief Director, Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, HOD, and good morning once more to the honorable members. I have a couple of questions. I think, Honorable Member Ngobeni, the HOD has explained at length the approach in terms of overcrowding, the delays that because the program was heavily linked to the performance of the DID, necessitated that we had a relook in terms of the approach and the new programs that you are seeing, like the self-built and the introduction of new implementing agents in the form of DBSA is as a result of that change in strategy. Just to give an indication, in 2016 when we are sitting, when you look at the ECE, we had about 450 projects that were in the realm of the DID, and currently there are less than 100 projects that are still sitting with them. So although there is some strides that we are starting to see with the various intervention points, the difficulty is that we are trying to address the backlog, and at the same time there is new needs that add on to the backlog. So it's a moving target that we are trying to balance out. So with the introduction of these new interventions, we will make the difference over time. We also have to mention that even with the projects that DID is still implementing, we are trying to recover a lot of them, although there has been some historical challenges with the program on that side, but we are working with them to try and make sure that the projects that they are currently responsible for is implemented. With regards to the infrastructure challenges related to project stoppages, we still are experiencing a lot of that, but I have to say with the projects that we are implementing, we have managed thus far to manage that, although there are some sporadic stoppages, but we have worked with, where necessary, the security cluster to try and keep that. Currently, the only specific challenge that I can mention is the Mpumelelo project in Bronkhorstspruit that has been stopped now for the last 3 weeks. We are currently engaging with the community and the SMMEs to try and unlock the disagreement. Even yesterday, I was in that meeting to try and deal with the issues. Hopefully by next week, this matter will be resolved, and then we should be able to unlock the project. Honorable Chair, the issue of the schools that you noted in terms of what the portfolio committee gets in terms of challenges, we note the schools, and we will work on intervening. The Elson schools, the strategy is that the mobiles do not necessarily come with the ramps, but what needs to happen is maintenance. Once the mobile has been installed, maintenance needs to come in and do the ramp itself. I'll follow up to make sure that is implemented in the case that you have raised, but in general, there is work that we need to improve on that count. The delays in terms of Barcelona, the challenge, I think, it has been prevalent, especially with the DID side. of contractors that have been appointed that do not have the requisite cash flow to start on the project. And then we have to get in replacement contractors. I know that DID has a panel of emergency contractors that they use where the previous contractors had failed, and hopefully through this process, they will get a contractor that's competent to implement the project. We obviously are working with them to make sure that that project is revived. I know that Barcelona in particular has been a concern for quite a long time. That project with coupled with Sizuzile has been the two most projects in that region that have experienced delays in terms of preparatory work and also construction work. So we are pushing that that project gets recovered. Chair, with regards to Reicher Park Primary, the project has two phases. The first phase relates to the mobile classrooms relocation. This was necessary so that we are able to get the space to do the construction. And the second phase also relates to earthworks and platforms. So that 15% relates to that work that was done. We will get a recon of the progress and then make it available so that if there's any scrutiny that we need to apply, we can provide that. Then with regards to Refihlile Pele, the contractor was terminated because of underperformance. The contractor was, the project was supposed to complete, the initial contract date was March 2023 and was revised to 31 March 2025. But at the rate that the contractor was moving, the performance was unacceptable, and eventually the contractor was terminated by DID so that a new contractor can come on board. There's a new contractor on board, and currently we have assessed a compensation event that accounts for additional work that needs to happen so that the project can be completed. And then the comment on Savannah and versus Rotara timelines, Chair, the scope of work with regards to Savannah. Firstly, maybe the important thing is to indicate that when we report on dates, we put in contractual dates in terms of when the contractor was appointed and when the contractor is supposed to complete as per contractual date. But at times there are revised dates because the contractor would apply for extension of time, which is allowed in the contract, and provide reasons. And then if the reasons are acceptable to the team, then that extension of time would be applicable. So that could be one of the reasons for what the dates is. The second thing is the scope of work between Savannah and Rotara. Rotara is quite a huge school. It's in comparison with Savannah, so it's not the same scope in terms of that. And then the CD Beng, but also maybe to mention that we will provide that additional information just to substantiate the dates in terms of that. Lastly, the Sidibeng East office, we gave the DID the mandate to procure an office for the district. Safe to say that the GID came in with a building that was that is not acceptable to us and the district. It does not meet the requirements. That's the long and short of it. There has been we have taken the district to the proposed offices, and following that we have written to DID that those facilities are not acceptable to the department. So there are processes in place that is led by the HOD to finalize this matter so that the DID can source a new building for the district. Let me leave it there, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Acting DDG.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, HOD and colleagues. I will confine myself to two key interventions, Chair, as already mentioned that we are collaborating already with the province in terms of traffic wardens. The one major one is the collaborative protocol between the department and the South African Police Services, which was entered into last year. And I think the main focus of that is the 10 key points, which are joint identification of schools affected by crime in hotspots, creation of a response plan and report to ensure improved safety around schools, and establishment and functionality of school safety committees, including all relevant stakeholders, as well as SEPs. So there are about 10 points that have been identified, and the protocol was signed last year at the Henley Business School, and it's in place. I think the major part of it at this point in time is monitoring all these elements to see how the departments are performing. The second one, Chair, which we alluded to in our meeting last year at Gauteng West, is the review of the high-risk schools strategy. What the part of the focus of it is a shift from calling them high-risk schools, but to say schools in high-risk communities, because that is where the issue is. We have started that together with Matthew Koniwe and some key divisions in the department, that's including research. There was a questionnaire or survey that was used previously, so we are tweaking it for its relevance for the current one. So the plan will, once approved, will be developed and we'll implement it over the next 5 years. And so those are the major key interventions. The collaborative protocol is also a 5-year plan. So I think from now on, as that will be our focus. But currently, what we have focused on is that a partnership with community safety, but as well as enhancing. We already have partnerships with communities, but we have proven that more structured relationships are key to protecting the schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll start with the witchcraft story. Victor, just behind you there, please. Pussy, thanks.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I think partly Acting HOD has responded. However, while we are experiencing gangsterism, when we get involved with these learners, we are finding them different groups with belts, with mutis and bottles. And a stronger group is also attracting more learners that join them. And we are finding it very prevalent in the area of Gauteng, spilling over to Springs. And the witchcraft comes there to say, we're not sure whether there's harmful religious practices or witchcraft, because there's mutis that are involved in the groups as they are fighting. And we really are finding learners now in schools carrying weapons to defend themselves, because some of these people are young people that are out of school. and they come and attack in schools. We have experienced a loss of life in the Guatemala in 2 weeks ago, where there were stabbings from one of the secondary schools with these out-of-school learners with belts and things. And it is emanating from that, Chairperson. Thank you.
Chief Director Sedibeng, followed by Acting Chief Director Tswani, and then we close with the Chief Director Johannesburg.
Thank you very much, HOD. I want to start by acknowledging the inputs that have been made by the honorable members, in particular in relation to disruptions that are happening in schools, that we need to build strong relations with our communities. I think we acknowledge that we're doing it, but we'll expand it so that it becomes our modus operandi moving forward, because it tends to help. True is that the chairperson has commended us on good results, but Chair, we want to do more. But there are challenges that are facing us, and we would really want help. For example, I want to take just 2 schools in Gauteng West. The first one being Simonye. The school has been under construction for a very, very long time. And where learners are, there's no dignity at all. No learner should be subjected to such conditions. What is frustrating is that every time you visit the site, you are given a date, it's not met. For example, our MEC was there, was given a date, it was not met. NCOP was there, it was not met. And since these learners are in these situations, it has an impact on the performance of learners. Lastly I think is Lebohile. It's a sinkhole school, and the school was decanted to a new site, which is not conducive to teaching and learning at all. Since then, the school has never performed well. It's a chronic underperforming school. The difficulties in the school is quite depressing, and really, we would like to be assisted, especially with regards to projects related to DIT. It's really letting us down. We really want to excel and do better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Chair, as a region, we note and appreciate the comment made by the Chair with regard to the upward trajectory in terms of the academic performance. And we are making a commitment as a region that will continue implementing our intervention strategies, not only in grade 12, but in all the grades. 2 questions or points of concern raised by the Chair for the Tshwane region were the issue of Refihlile that the Acting Chief Director responded to in terms of the termination of the contractor due to underperformance. The second one was the issue of the district offices, in particular, Gauteng North, Tshwane West, and Tshwane North. In his response, Acting Chief Director indicated that, and it was captured in the presentation that we made as well, that unfortunately for Tshwane North, DID submitted that the earmarked and identified Park North building in Pretoria North is outside the boundaries of the district. It was supposed to be occupied by Tshwane West, but the whole process should be redone and will be guided in terms of the timelines. Those were the 2 for the Tshwane region. Other issues pertaining to overcrowding, the vacancies, ELSAN schools, were responded by the respective line managers. On a lighter note, unfortunately, we don't have major incidences with regard to, or we don't have them, witchcraft in Tshwane. Thank you so much.
Chair, he's not being honest because the Tshwane West district always had a problem.
Thanks, Chairperson. So is Joburg, we don't have witchcraft challenges. We dealt with those a long time ago. Very interestingly, we had issues of this satanism and what. And when we called SAPS, there was stability in the school. Those learners just disappeared. Those just seeing the van, they just disappeared. But Chair, thanks that you were spot on in terms of identifying that there are challenges that relates to SGPs, especially in the region. And one of the things that we have noted is that there's too many SGP associations that are mushrooming. And all of them are just contesting for space and contesting for schools, you know. So that is what we are also managing. But what we've done as a branch, we have this SGP association meetings that we hold twice a quarter. One to deal with their own challenges and the schools they represent, and the other one is just to share with them our progress in terms of the implementation of the strategy and how they should be supporting us. But HOT is also correct to say at the center of these things is two things: finances and posts. That's where we find most of the challenges. Chair, we want to confirm that we will be supporting your program as you visit our LSN schools, especially Casa de Sol, because that matter has been there for some time now and it seems not to be going away. But as we say that if you look at the budget that goes to these LSN schools, there's a huge budget, and I know somewhere it might be also a trigger of some of these challenges. On the offices JE, as we have indicated, Johannesburg East Chair is operating from 5 different satellites, and the 3 of them are not fully functional because they lack certain resources, just poor state of buildings in those 3 satellites. So the responses that we are getting from DIT also does not assist, and I'm happy that we are saying you're going to see how best you can also try and intervene in that. Chair, around issues of gangsterism, and there's also this subtle racism, especially in your El Dorado area, you know, where even learners themselves begin to show those signs of subtle racism, and as a result they attack one another. But also seeing a prevalence of political parties now using our schools for any little campaign. Our schools are being targeted. You know, look at Deep Slot, there's a lot of activities there. Now recently we are seeing Protea South in Soweto and Protea Glen, where there are 2 political parties that are active in that, and they're now encroaching into the space of SGPs, using SGPs for their own purpose. But that is the space we're also monitoring and making sure that we intervene as much as we can. Thanks, Chair.
Chair, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, HOD. It seems like Eguruleni Tipele Stagatayo, you know, as someone that comes from that region. So, you must know my things are strong. That's on a lighter note. You know, speaking of it's quite an interesting phenomena, you know, to speak of the witchcraft and the spiritual attacks that would happen in schools. Because ironically, I'm currently dealing with a case of a child who has spiritual attacks, who's at Lisiba Secondary School. And now that child is being bullied because of the spiritual attacks. And one is trying to intervene to assist that child because she has decided to stop going to school because she can't take it, the bullying that is happening. So I think it's quite it's an interesting area because we have different religions and we believe in so many different things. Other people are not even religious at all. So how do we then tolerate each other with our different religions in schools? Would quite be an interesting thing to look into. I think HOD really must appreciate how forthcoming the department is with information. We don't struggle with information, and where we note challenges, we are able to get explanations that make sense. And where there must be interventions, mostly we've received quite positive interventions from your side. So we must really appreciate that as a portfolio committee. And, you know, Ntate Makwakwa, just to be funny enough with what you're saying with the politicization of schools now, we would have experienced that happening with one of our members in the committee. Every time we were visiting a school, she would mobilize her political party comrades to come to that school, either to toy or to raise issues. So we had to kuza her to say, hey, Mam Kwanazi, imakancane ngomkhonto, mawungakwazi ku-portfolio committee, you know. So it's quite something that we must also really, mele sikhuze abantu thina as people who are in political parties, to say that schools are not a place of politics, it's a place of teaching and learning. And once you start to politicize such spaces, then it becomes very chaotic and very anarchic, and it's something that we must not even tolerate or stand for. But it's something that we must actually call out upon our colleagues if they do it. And really, I think also one thing that I forgot to raise, HOD, is something that I would have raised in the chairperson's review session, to say that we really have a challenge with when invoices are not being paid, and colleagues here at Education have indicated that this is a problem that happens at Treasury, where they make payments late, and so we've noted that it's something that is quite prevalent across all the departments. It's not something they are only doing at Education. In fact, the chairperson of finance has identified one culprit that they say refuses to make payments. And this is something that we have spoken to the speaker about, to say that she needs to write to Treasury so that they call them, because education in particular, when we have school nutrition and we have scholar transport, those are basic services that if a child does not have them, then that child can't be learning properly, and it's going to disturb our calendar year in terms of the curriculum and the work that must be done. So we'll be following up quite on this matter, because we understand the challenges that have been indicated by the department. Because Tina, when we come, we are saying you department did not pay these people, children are struggling. There's nowhere where Treasury is mentioned to be the problem. So if there are those challenges, it's something that we must be able to address. And I think HOD, it's quite beautiful to see that there's a lot of construction sites around Gauteng, because the Premier would have said, we want to open a school every week, and we really support that work that you do, and we must push DID on their side, that we must ensure that these things are happening. And I think what I also like is that as a department overall, there are strategies to improve other grades as well. Our focus is not only at matric, because that's where then our kids need the proper foundation that they are going to be getting. And I would agree with you on the mushrooming of SGB associations. You know, there was in one of our stakeholder engagements last year, there was one person that came and said that you must reduce the number of membership that is required for us to start an SGB association. I mean, that is you wanting to change the law so that you can have more SGB associations. Whilst we appreciate the work that they do, but there must be a way that we must find to really deal with the conflicts that exist between our SGBs, our principals, our districts, as well as the department as a whole. Because when we get to stakeholder engagements, most people are just complaining, SGBs complaining about the challenges that are happening in their schools. Perhaps it's an area that we must then be able to look at on how we are going to deal with those matters. I want to do something that is unorthodox of us as a portfolio committee, because most of the time we come, we ask you questions, grill you with questions, and we actually never ask yourselves to ask us questions, or maybe to make any comments that you would want to make. So HOD, perhaps through you, since colleagues report to yourself, and with your permission, we would like to give to the floor for colleagues to ask us any questions or to make any comments that they would want to make.
Chair, that's fine. I think it's an open session, so I'll add on to what the chairperson has said, where you are going to also appeal for help in some cases. So let's, anyone that wants, just put up your hands and on anything. Okay, I've got Dora. Dora, keep your hands up. Anyone else? Class, yeah, there, 2. Okay, let's start with the 2 for now, that's fine.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And thanks for this opportunity. We, I think for now, understand the oversight role of the Education Portfolio Committee. One would like to know, beyond this key responsibility, what is your value add that is over and above oversight role? What is your value add to education? Why? Because we have situations where matters are beyond our control and would require political intervention. Look at the protests that usually take place where schools are used as weapons to win battles. And we wonder then who stands in the gap when we are faced with challenges that would need political leaders to intervene. Thanks, Chair.
Chair of the Portfolio Committee, HOD and colleagues, the issue is that we are mostly overwhelmed by political parties fighting for space in our schools. And as the Portfolio Committee, what would be the advice for districts that are having to deal, because the understanding is that more often than not, we deal with these issues at the level of the PCOs, where we are able to give reports that is representing communities. What would be the advice to the districts in terms of relationships with political parties? Because we are a non-partisan system, and yet you then get overwhelmed. Secondly is, Chair, I don't want to leave here very excited that you'd be able to interface the blockages that are there between GDE and DID, particularly for those districts that do not have offices, and particularly for those districts that are having problems with schools and construction having to take place. To what degree should I limit my excitement? Thank you.
Any other takers? Jose? Other district officials, don't feel scared. If there is something you want to comment on, just put up your hands, even if you think it's a small thing.
Thank you, HOD. Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity as well. I hope it's not going to be a session of lamenting from my side, but we have been hearing about the challenges relating to DID, and that has been quite extensively covered. There's another centralized service provider, if you can call it that way, which is eGov. And I think the original thinking behind the establishment of the Gauteng Shared Service Center was to improve the back office functions, which is the finance, procurement, and HR. What we've experienced now is that has become a huge bottleneck. And perhaps one needs to urge for a rethinking of that particular model because it brings red tape, it brings delays, and control outside of where the control is supposed to be in terms of your departments itself. Thank you, Chair.
Any other district official that wants to take a chance? Give Bongi a chance there. It's your last statement before you retire, so take the chance.
Yes, HOD. Thank you, Chairperson and HOD, for affording us an opportunity. I'm at the district level in HR. manager. And one of our functions is to support schools to see optimum teaching and learning. I just want to ask you, Chair, to say how best can you assist the GDE to unlock the budget? Because we depend on budget, equally so to provide accelerated service delivery. We have 2 schools that are open and they don't have personnel for support. And we are expected to function like any other provinces. So now, with Gauteng being, our wings, I'll say HR's wings are clipped in terms of that. And to wait for 3 months is too much. But now we've gone more than 3 months for a year without such a budget. And at DPSA, we know that once the structure is approved, that structure should have costs allocated to. So please represent us to unlock so that we operate like any other organization. Money is a key to everything and a balance to what we want to support to schools. Thank you.
Good afternoon, our honorable members and our colleagues. Thank you so much for this opportunity of this kind of an engagement. And I think as my former colleague Klaas indicated that it's raising, a lot of expectations from our side. So we are humbly requesting, the support to an extent that as I'm speaking right now, we've got a serious challenge with one of our schools in Johannesburg North, Diepsloot Sec 2, that managed in the past 2 years to perform at 100% pass rate with more than 80% bachelors. But now we are faced with a serious challenge whereby one of their mobiles has been dilapidated, whereby we needed to, share all those learners across other classrooms. But the challenge at the moment is that mobile classroom is a risk safety hazard because anything can happen. So we are humbly requesting that if that mobile classroom can at least be removed or be collapsed so that those panels are packed maybe somewhere else, because anything can happen, with those particular learners. Hence, all our schools in that circuit are faced with overcrowding. The other issue is around that school that was mentioned, Casa da Sol. I think I'm in the position to indicate to the House clearly so and categorically correctly so that we did intervene around the issue of one member of the HGB. We did all our best. Unfortunately, that HGB member, and I would want to indicate to our honorable HOD that thank you so much for the support, because finally there was a letter that we presented to her that she's going to be removed. But unfortunately, it's like we are dealing with somebody with some psychological, challenges, because already we are dealing with an Elson school and with a member who's got serious, mental challenges, because the very same letter, she just torn it in front of all of us that she's required to be removed, and managed to open up another HGB association now, where it's like now she wants to abuse those powers now in terms of not winning with what she was trying to do, not in building the school, but breaking the school. We really want to appreciate even the ISS unit from head office through their support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mine is on scholar transport. I know that it was dealt with. However, I wanted to come up with a deep problem in that. Scholar transport disruptions earlier this year affected all the province. And we were advised to come up with a disaster management plan. However, my problem is that if I've got a school where learners are using 15 buses in that school and they don't come to school for 2 weeks, it becomes a big problem. So my plea was that if such disruptions come, please help us promptly so. Thank you.
Good afternoon, honorable members and colleagues. In one of the presentations, I'm Mashudu from Johannesburg South District. There's a challenge that was raised in relation to business forums. It is a reality that we are facing. These business forums actually, they end up capturing SGB members within our schools, such that they control them financially and in line with procurement. Now, we have tried all means to intervene, having meetings with them, but unfortunately, when they go back to the community, they start afresh. Now, it leaves principals in a very dicey corner of having threats, not only principals, but us as officials. We end up receiving threats such that it becomes very difficult to really ensure that proper policies are implemented in line with procurement. So I'm raising this because within the district, in the past 5 years, we lost a principal. Last year, a principal was hijacked. And these are threats that come in daily. And one would like to know how best can we be assisted in line with these business forums and also SGBs that are captured, leading to threats at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you very much, HOD. My plea and request is that we be assisted by the honorable members at the level of legislature insofar as roads infrastructure. Gauteng North is a rural district, as they are aware. They were there last year. More than 35% of our learners are passed. Now, a company gets appointed, it has 12 or more buses. In less than 4 months, 8 or more of those buses are scrapped. Now the company ends up unwilling to send better quality buses to the same roads. Results, the company, instead of 12 buses, uses 5 and shuttles learners. The last load arrives at school at 9 or even later. You can't blame it on the bus owners not to use all 12 buses because the roads are just unuser friendly. If the sister departments could assist with that, it would be highly appreciated. Thanks, HOD.
Just maybe to add on the issue of the roads. I mean, we spend 100 to 150 million on a school. And then the roads around the school is not up to scratch. I think if you just look at a few of the schools we used recently, Chief Albert Lutuli Primary, the school that we were in, Popilong. I mean, they don't even sort of scrape the roads. They can just even put paving, but they wouldn't. There is also a new phenomena that is coming up with the municipalities. They want us now to pay for extension of park services to schools. But they approved the township. Now when we want the bulk services to get the school, they say, no, you'll have to pay for it. Now they want us to pay for road upgrades because we built the school. But all of this should have been part of the initial design. So in some instances, the cost of doing the amendment to the road is actually more than the cost of the school. And so that interface with municipalities is something that we need to find ways of reinforcing. Chair, on that note, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I would want, because of how difficult your questions are, even my things of witchcraft from Ekuruleni won't help me. Let me ask Member Gubeni to assist me. Maybe let me allow you to come in first, then I'll come in.
Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks for the questions. You know, Chair, I didn't want to speak a lot today because I had an accident yesterday, so I'm really a bit tired, so I wanted some rest. But because we are paid for this, it's important that we respond. So one, I think I didn't get the names properly, but I'll just go based on the numbers and try to respond to other questions. So one is that I think we really do, intervene politically, especially in schools where there are certain protests where we've got knowledge or maybe where we're called, So we've seen, I think there's something that was raised as well in terms of the issues that of SGBs and schools that has to do with finances and all those things. We know those things precisely because there were certain areas where we're called that people want to remove principals, but when we sit down and have engagement, we're able to detect that in fact, it's just criminal elements that seeks to cause problems at schools. It's issues of money and all that. But above all, we do participate, especially if we're called to intervene. And I think even the second submission speaks to that as well. And I've heard that how do we then deal with the issues that has to do with politics in schools, people campaigning and all that. I think we need to look at it differently. You see, when I spoke about stakeholder relation, it consists of different leaders of society. So that's how you need to view it. You've got leaders coming from different organizations, and in the center of their interest in these schools is to make sure that the stability and also to assist where it's possible. I mean, it always been done during intake process, applications. Mostly that's when they come, parents, organizations, to try and see how they can assist in terms of these learners getting space. So it's not necessarily that battle that people are fighting. It's good. It doesn't matter. I think that's what you should not be worried of, especially if they are bringing assistance. If people come from different organizations bringing school shoes to learners who don't afford, who don't have a uniform, I think that's something that we need to appreciate and find a way on how we at least close the gaps or try to manage conflicts that might occur in the process, because people come for different reasons. And I think it also speaks to that stakeholder relation that I spoke to, that, in fact, if you are a principal or you are a teacher in a school, you are, in fact, an intellectual leader of the community. You ought to know your society, the surrounding areas. You need to know the leaders, whether it's of business, whether it's political and all that. So those are relations that you must have. And it will also assist you, even when you've got issues of safety and security, because when you bring them together, they will be able to assist where possible, because there are also organizations in communities that really this, I just forgot the name, the proper name, man, of these guys who patrols in the communities and all that. So you ought to have a relation with that. And you will not even need police, you will not even need the mapanya to come to assist you with the issues of the school. I mean, it also speaks to the quality leadership of the school. Because if you've got a proper leadership at school, the school will run smooth. You know, some of these things happens because learners spend most of their time doing absolutely nothing at school. So if you keep them busy, you are in fact taking them away from these criminal elements that some participate to. But I don't know if I don't make sense when I speak, people are speaking. We were quiet when we were asking questions. Allow us to respond, even if it might not be what you think is correct. So now, another question, I think it spoke to how can we push I think I will skip number 3, Chair will assist there. And the question was, how can we push the GDE to unlock the budget? So I think, of course, it's in the center of what we are doing. We'll, of course, keep on pushing the department to really, that is why there's a budget that is before us that we need to vote on, so that we're able to, the department is able to fund this, maybe some of their outstanding program and projects. But obviously we want that to be done correctly. We don't want to vote on budget that are going to be misused by people for wrong things. So that also might be, it becomes a problem to some of us. But on matters of importance, of course, we'll push, we'll really assist on that. And another concern, I think it was on mobile classrooms that are not in good shape and all that. I think they are here. The department needs to take action on that. As including the scholar transport issues, and I think the road infrastructure issues, I think that can also be escalated to the committee or the Department of Transport, Roads and Transport. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Ngubeni, and I appreciate Member Ngubeni. He never misses our meetings, and he was only showing me now the car, what happened to it, and we really appreciate, and we wish you a speedy recovery. There's ambulance people here, even outside, just waiting for him, and I hope you're not gonna get any pains, you know. But we really appreciate you and the work that you do with the portfolio committee. And I think colleagues, I must appreciate bengithi nizosaba ukuthi yo kuno HOD and not ask any questions, you know, in fear of being reprimanded on the other side. But I'm really glad, HOD, that you gave them that freedom to engage with us. We welcome Member Sesedinyan, and we hope your exam went well, my brother. And we appreciate that you have come here, even after writing. I think, colleagues, you know, when we speak about value add and the value that we add, even just outside of the portfolio committee, it speaks to quite a number of things. And I think there's a lot of work that we do just as MPLs outside of being members of the portfolio committee. I know that in my NGO, where I come from, in the NGO that is my political party, we have parliamentary constituency offices, and we do a lot of work in those PCOs. I as an individual, have 3 PCOs in Ekurhuleni, in the district of Ntate Makola, in the Kempton Park area. I have a PCO in Davidton, I have a PCO in Benoni. Those are my constituencies. And in my capacity as a leader of the PCOs, I attend stakeholder engagements of the department when they are meeting with communities, with SGPs. And I think as members of parliament, just as an individual, I don't go there as a chairperson of education, but go there as a politician that has a constituency in that particular area. And I think that kind of support is really important, because that is where you are then able to interact the most with people on the ground. And that is very important for us. And I think there's a relocation of, I'm not sure if it's your district, Mama, that there was a consultation meeting that was supposed to be held with the relocation of the offices. So those meetings, I think, are important, because even the councillors, the ward councillors that are under my constituency offices, I would tell them that when the districts call you to meetings, you must go, because these schools are in your wards, and the interventions that we are going to need, it's going to be yourselves that must then intervene. And I am glad that most of the councillors in these constituencies are active in their schools. And in areas where we have went, I think there was in Tshwane, they were saying in one school, we don't even know this ward council. It's the first time we're seeing him, because you guys came here when we were doing our school readiness programs. And we frown upon such things, and really, that is why even outside of us being in the provincial government, when we say there's you see that pull up pen. It's got three things that speak to our mandates, and the one of cooperative governance is the one that I think is very important. And that is why when we go to areas as a portfolio committee, we call the ward councillor, because you as a leader of that ward should then be able, when the district has certain problems of protests, you should be a point of contact, because you are a politician in that area, and be able to assist the department on the work that needs to be done on the ground. And I think that political leadership is quite important. And furthermore, as an oversight committee, I think we are a youthful oversight committee, and I think that sometimes helps, because the different ideas that then come from the members of the committee in terms of the work that we must do, and things that go beyond the scope of just going to school and doing oversight, we think is important. We have adopted as a portfolio committee a program of literacy month, because we are very passionate about reading, and we think that we can extend a hand and have collaborations with certain schools. Last year, as a portfolio committee, we donated over 150 books to a number of schools during the literacy month, and it's a program that this year they told us, no, but you guys can't do, this is an outreach program, it's not part of your portfolio committee work. We said, no, we'll find a way to put it in our budget, because we are passionate about this area as a portfolio committee, so we need to do such programs. So we believe that collaborative work is really important. Our collaborations with different stakeholders, like now, with the chair of chairs, we're speaking to HOD, indicating that there is a businessman that would have spoken to help us build a hall in one of the schools in Westbury. So they are doing that. So we think that it's important for us to also have those stakeholders, and not only tell you as department to say that this is the work that you must do, but outside of the scope of work that we are given, we are not doing any humanitarian work. And I think also as individuals, myself as a person that's very passionate about education, for the past 7 years, when applications open for university, I have a team that I work with. We go to different schools and we assist learners to apply for universities, to apply for different bursaries. So that's the type of value add that we think we should have as politicians, but also we must just be activists before we are politicians. We must care about these learners, and we must care about their future, and go beyond and above the call of the duty, that is to say that you are in the legislature, this is the work that is prescribed in terms of your KPIs or whatever performance that must be done. And I think Member Ngobeni has spoken to a number of issues. Really, the excitement, you know that father, Member Ali, when she was responding to the Premier on the State of the City, said some of the promises, and I want to compare DID to this story that she was speaking about. She says, there is that father that is always promising, but they never do. Mawukhuluma naye uthi, "Hayi, next week mntanami zokwenzela yona lento leyo." So DID, to a certain extent, why I'm not excited as well is because they are similar to that absent father that's always making empty promises, And it's a problem. We are trying to push We work with the chairperson of DIT, sometimes even officials, project managers that work at DIT, they come to us to say, there is a stop here, we need your intervention. So the problem is even inside the department itself, from colleagues who are working there as well, they're experiencing challenges to say, we don't understand why is the department doing this thing in this particular manner. You speak of Sizuzile, you speak of, I used to work at DIT at some point in my life before I became an MPL, and you would experience these problems as an official on the ground to say that documents are sitting somewhere, someone is not signing something, someone is not taking this matter seriously enough. So I'm not excited, honestly speaking, when we speak about the responses from DIT. It's similar to eGov. There was even a question yesterday raised by Member Hlope at the chairperson's review. She was asking, you know, Wuti, we must really question what is the relevance of certain departments if departments have taken a decision to start doing things themselves. A lot of departments are pulling away from the Department of Infrastructure Development, and they are doing projects themselves. And where they are doing those projects, njengoba nenza la education, there's a lot of success, and the time of the project becomes shorter, and the work is actually able to get done. At eGov, the chairperson really, she's got so many problems. She complains about even the existence of this department because they are supposed to be supplying Wi-Fi to our schools. When you go to all of those schools, it's a nightmare. Schools are now buying their own routers to have Wi-Fi because eGov is really failing almost all the departments. And even the chairperson of the portfolio committee is saying, why does this department exist if it's not going to do its work? And we are overtaken by AI and other technologies, but we are actually behind in terms of the work that is happening at eGov. And then you speak to unlocking of the budget. You know, this is a very painful, it's a very painful thing that, well, we took a decision as Gauteng to pay for to scrap the e-tolls. And when there was an explanation that was given by the MEC of Finance, he says that the rollout of the, is it 39 billion or something? I don't know how many billions it is, but it's a rollout that is meant to take place over a couple of years. So in those couple of years, what that does is that it eats into the budget of all the departments over the years, because they are borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. So it becomes very problematic, and I think that we've been very passionate as a portfolio committee to say that the part of employing people is one thing that should be consistent, and that must happen, because especially in education, you've got teachers that retire, you've got teachers that leave their posts for various reasons, but we see that there is a trend in terms of them not being replaced or being replaced very late. And the department citing that there are challenges with budgetary constraints, and also the national department has also cut their budgets. So it's a very problematic area. We're speaking about it to say that we are generally experiencing across departments declining budgets. And all the time when we come to meetings and you ask the department, why ningayenzanga into so, they will tell you budget. And you can't then blame them to say, because where are they going to find the money to do those things that are being spoken about? So the budgetary issues are a generic problem across all the departments, and I don't think there's a solution right now that is going to be able to resolve these matters until maybe they finish paying the Stakeholder of the e-tolls. Then maybe there is something that can be looked at in terms of the increase in our budgets. And you know, when they speak of a psycho at Kasedi Sol, there's a lady that was in our stakeholder engagement last week, and she spoke, and then she says, Futek, you know. And we're like, you can't insult us, because when we address you, you know, we address you with respect. Let's raise issues, yes, but we can be passionate about raising the issues, but you can't raise your voice at us. You can't insult us. We are adults here. We are mothers and fathers with families, and we are here at work. You can't make our work environment to be toxic. And I understand that there are people that are generally built like that, but it's not something that we really should tolerate, you know, as people that now I come to work, I can't even do anything at my workplace because someone has decided to turn my workplace into a toxic work environment. But at the same time, there are many issues that are raised at Casa de Sol by different people, including a parent that would have said that his son was beaten up by a teacher at the school, and then the child's condition got worse, and then eventually the teacher passed away. So when you speak about issues of ekuruleni and witchcraft, that father says the teacher passed away because he touched the wrong one, you know. So, we never know, but there are many issues at Casa de Sol, and I think that working together, we can try and find some solutions to some of those problems that are there. And then I think that what happened with the scholar transport this year was quite unfortunate. That is why when we raised these issues with the speaker yesterday, was to say that there are certain areas or aspects of departments that should be considered as, what was the term during the COVID times? They were saying, essential services, yes. So there are certain areas, whether no matter come rain or shine, that must not be disturbed. They are a matter of life and death. So like Department of Health, Education, there are certain aspects of the department that whether it's raining or it's snowing, you should not have delays in payments of scholar transport. You should not have delays in payments of school nutrition, because those are the crux of the Department of Education. So I think that this year's thing was quite unfortunate, Mama, and we are hoping that it's something that is not going to happen again, but we must push the Department of Finance and in terms of their payments. And the issue of business forums in Tshwane is quite prevalent. In fact, Kibo Ket Matlala Batubako Tshwane, you know, to a certain extent. To a certain extent. I know that there was at some point, I think you were in Soshanguve, there was a school that every time Manitinya Sebenza, they arrive there, these people with their guns. And sometimes we must really commend your bravery, even yourselves, as the officials that are working there, because you leave home, you don't expect that there's going to be guns at a project, a school. You don't expect that there's going to be such things that are happening. So really, if there are any interventions, I know that there's a rapid response units, which is one of the units I used to work in. Rapid response units, if they are there, and if there's need for political intervention, the portfolio committee is always available if there's a need for political intervention to come in and assist whether through our councillors or even ourselves coming there to assist yourselves to negotiate those terms so that our projects are able to proceed. I think that that will assist us. You know, the issues of roads and infrastructure and they're very problematic. I know that we had a collaboration last year with the Department of Transport. Charlene, what was that school we went to? Some farm school in Dipslot, where there was a road that was being built, and now kids were passing away because maba cross strati motos abachais. We went to MECD Letlabela's office to say that there is a challenge that we are having in the school where kids, more than 10 kids have now passed away. So we are requesting an intervention that you must put robots, because it's a very busy intersection and it's a provincial road. So that intervention was done by the Department of Transport in the province for that school, so that we don't have that challenge. And I think that if we find ways to work together and collaborate, we can try to do the same in the different municipalities. At least I know in Ekurhuleni, the mayor there comes from my NGO that I come from. So maybe I know that there are certain things that we can be able to assist each other with, especially even if it's, you know, the grading of the roads, especially your Tshwane roads. They are very problematic. We've been visiting schools that are far, Hammanskrals, your Soshanguves. Some of the roads are really bad, and you would not blame these service providers when they say, when they give you a bus that is like almost an old bus because you know, when they are going to the schools that are far away. I think we can find ways where there are areas, if the municipality is saying that, no, we can't, at this point in time, put that road and make it tar, at least grade the roads. At least grade the roads. That's what we want, so that the access for our learners is not problematic. You know, there's a school, Emiezane, in my ward. Those kids, they don't go to school when it rains. They don't go to schools when it rains. So it took us intervening, trying to work with the councillor, the district, trying to work together to say to the colleagues at Ekurhuleni municipality, we can't have kids that are not going to school because it's raining. We don't live in Malawi. We can't have these problems in South Africa, you know, and the interventions that are then necessary for these colleagues to help us to try and make the lives of our learners a little bit easier. So I think in areas where there's a need for collaborations, we can try our best, you know, to have those collaborations that will thing. And the issue of bulk services, really, oh yes, the school is River Sense. Yeah, thanks Charlene for that. The school is River Sense Primary School. It's a farm school that we went to with member Schneeman, the chairperson of transport. So the bulk services to schools, I think it sort of also gets interlinked to what you were saying last week, HOD, about the exorbitant amounts that we are charged for electricity and services in our schools by these departments in the municipalities, where we are charged as if we are businesses instead of an institution of government. And I think that this requires even for us to raise it with the principals at COCTA, the premier even himself, that there must be an engagement that must happen. You can't have a municipality that wants a department to pay for bulk services, because number one, you are creating an audit query for us. That is a sort of some fraud of sorts. I don't know these terms, but it then becomes a problem between education and the AG. And I'm really glad that colleagues have raised this issue, and that it must be something that we must take up and speak to the principals about, because it requires political will and political intervention, because all these people are politicians that are taking these decisions, and then they affect us as schools on the ground. And I think perhaps colleagues, one would have tried to cover the bulk of the issues that were raised by colleagues. I would want member Sesedinyane to just say hi and tell us how the exam went.
Dumela, I want to pass it.
No, we are glad a member says all the best. Colleagues, I don't know, HOD, if there's anything else that you would want, you are fine? Okay. We want to draw towards a close, colleagues, because we know that it is school holidays. I hope all your kids passed. Yesterday I had to leave a meeting because my kid was calling to say, Mama, I passed, you know. So let's hope that we can be able to spend time with our families. I'm going to ask Member Ngubeni to do a vote of thanks for us. I know that we say, oh, Ari Fese Sedinyan, Nkeabereke lien.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. May take this opportunity officially to appreciate and thank you. And of course, my apologies for being late. I'm sure I would have had an opportunity to engage and say some few things, but I'm quite confident that my colleagues would have done the best. On behalf of the collective of the committee, we want to appreciate and thank you very much for this engagement, and we hope that moving forward we'll improve, of course, our working relations moving forward. So on behalf of the committee, we really appreciate and thank everyone. Thank you, Chair. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Member Sesedinyana. And colleagues, more than anything, what we wanted to achieve today is this relationship building. I believe in relationships. I think that they help us when we work together. We are able to achieve so many things. That's why I wish even other members of the portfolio committee were here so that they can get to have this interaction with yourselves. And when we come to your various districts, at least you know you've put the faces on the names of the members of the portfolio committee. And we really appreciate you coming out on a Saturday. I was saying to one of my colleagues, and I want to appreciate my team really in the portfolio committee. I've made them work this entire month, all the weekends. I think it's only one weekend where they were not working. And it's because we were called by the SG of the organization I come from. But otherwise, I really want to appreciate that you have come out on a weekend and put aside your things. It really shows the passion that you have for your work and the changes that you want to make in your various departments within the Department of Education. Let me take this opportunity to declare this meeting officially closed. Thank you so much, colleagues. Our meeting to Eguruleni. We are taking our meeting to Eguruleni. We want to see if your things are going to work.